This podcast of the Equine Forum is brought to you by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program at the College of Business. It all begins in 15 seconds right after this word from our podcast sponsor.
The University of Louisville Equine Industry Program at the College of Business is now offering a graduate certificate, which can be completed in 15 or 30 weeks and be done as a standalone or used as 20% of your MBA. Classes at both the undergraduate and graduate level are forming now.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Improbable to the outside of Mucho Gusto, who's trying to battle back to the inside. And the two Baffert trainees have pulled away from the others. But it's Improbable doing the best work. Improbable well on his way to remain undefeated. And now a Grade 1 winner. Fantastic in the futurity.
Moira has taken the lead from full count Felicia Didia, trying to close the gap. Warlike Goddess, Beautiful Love. And then comes Cinderella's Dream. They're coming to the finish. And it is Moira. Oh, Canada.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Mucho Macho Man is full out now on the outside. Declaration of war will take charge. Mucho Macho Man just keeps on finding on the lead. Will take charge. A late run. Oh, it's close. Mucho Macho Man. The more they asked, the more he gave.
Bernardini strides away from the field at the 8 pole. In front by 4. Sweet Northern saying no real response for him. Brother Derek and Hemingway's key. It is going to be Bernardini to win this Preakness. A bittersweet Preakness it was.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone, and welcome to the show that launched a network. It is the Equine Forum, and it's all presented by TwinSpires right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, happy to have you back in the saddle with me right up until 11 a.m. Eastern on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, and streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I love this time of year, not only because of the festivities that take place during the Christmas season, but also because of the opportunities this time of year presents to those of us who enjoy talking about storylines in racing that often get overlooked or glanced over because of the full slate of big races throughout much of the year, every single weekend. This weekend, that is not the case. And that's not to disrespect the races taking place at Turfway and the races taking place down at Fairgrounds with Louisiana Champions Day. The stakes schedule this weekend, especially the greatest stakes schedule, is a bit lighter, which gives me the opportunity to bring you a few conversations on today's show with a bit of a different twist to them. Conversations about some really cool things which were announced or that took place this week. Kind of a, in case you missed it, kind of show, if you will. And you know how much I love talking about storylines. To me, they're very intriguing. And I don't know how many of you saw the news about Jockey Javier Castellano returning to his home country of Venezuela to compete in the Caribbean Equestrian Series at Hippodromo La Rinconada. But the coolest part of this story is when the track unveiled a statue of Javier in the paddock area. And you're going to hear from Javier in the second hour of today's show, right around 9:20 Eastern, as he talks about that moment. And he spends some time looking back on his Hall of Fame career. A couple other storylines, which may have gone under the radar this week, involved two people who, for years, have continued to contribute a great deal to our sport and our industry. One of those is Dora Delgado, who is the executive vice president of Breeders' Cup. She's also the chief racing officer. She was recognized this past week with the prestigious Clay Pewitt Award presented by the University of Arizona Racetrack Industry Program. Dora is going to be with me on next week's show. She was scheduled to be here this morning. She is on a call this morning. The work doesn't end. When you're a Clay Pewitt Award winner, there's a reason you're recognized with that award, because you hop on calls on Saturday morning if you have to, Sunday morning if you have to. And Dora's been doing this her entire career. So she is unable to be here this morning. You'll hear from her on next week's show. She also has a really entertaining story about a nightmare travel experience as she was trying to get to the racing symposium in Arizona to accept the award. She was unable to do so. Little tease for next week's show there. And by the way, past recipients of that award include Mary Lou Whitney, Joe Harper, John Gaines, and Clement Hirsch. So she's in some illustrious company now. You know, news also came out this past week that Denali Stud founder Craig Bandoroff is going to receive the Jockeys and Jeans Uphill Push Award at the Jockeys and Jeans PDJF fundraiser at Gulfstream Park on January 11th. That award is given to the person who provides the most meaningful help to the 60 jockeys who suffered career-ending injuries. And as many of you know, the PDJF, the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund, has long been the official charity of the Horse Racing Radio Network, and we love doing everything we can to help them. It's a fantastic organization. And you can understand why Craig would be so passionate about supporting an organization like PDJF. Craig was 19 years old in December of 1974. He was the leading apprentice jockey at Monmouth Park and Garden State Park at that time. At the latter, his mount bolted into the inside rail shortly after the start. His right arm, the arm he uses most, was paralyzed, and it was left to be useless, essentially. And to this day, Craig still deals with that issue, but it hasn't stopped him from fulfilling his dream of being successful in the thoroughbred industry through his Denali Stud. And Craig's going to be here at 8:35 Eastern. He's going to look back on his career in the industry. I think it should be fascinating, and he'll talk about being honored with that Uphill Push Award as well. Today is the Tropical Park Derby at Gulfstream Park, and I told you it's a bit light on the greatest stakes action. Well, the Tropical Park Derby is a pretty good one down at Gulfstream today. Past winners of that race, well, Kitten's Joy, Barbaro. That's a couple of big names. Barbaro, when he won the race in 2006, the race was run on New Year's Day. It was January 1st, 2006, when he won the Tropical Park Derby and stamped himself as a major, major player on the road to that year's Kentucky Derby. We didn't know Barbaro was going to become the Barbaro that we all know he was at that point, but that's where he showed it as a 2-year-old. But on New Year's Day 2006, he showed everybody, hey, I'm here. I'm a player, and I'm a major player, and that turned out to be just the case. Michael Matz, his trainer, is going to join me 9 o'clock Eastern to kick off hour number 2, and Michael's going to look back on that day at Gulfstream with the Tropical Park Derby. He'll talk about Barbaro's run through the Kentucky Derby too, but I really want to focus on what Michael was seeing from him coming into the Tropical Park Derby. Did he know at that time that he potentially had, and I know a lot can happen between January 1st and the first Saturday in May, but did Michael know at that point that he had the Derby winner in his barn? Did he feel that confident? I'll ask him that coming up 9 Eastern. You're also going to hear from Michael Banahan, who is the director of Bloodstock for Godolphin USA. He'll be here in just a few minutes at 8:15 Eastern. Godolphin is off to a ridiculous, well, I can't even say they're off to a ridiculous start. They have had a ridiculous season with their 2-year-olds, and it continues. We saw Poster win the Remsen last weekend at Aqueduct. And by the way, how about Owen Hardy? You heard from him on this show last week. Saddle's first resort in the Kentucky Jockey Club for Godolphin. Comes back with Poster the very next weekend in the Remsen. The list of horses, the 2-year-olds, that Godolphin is going to bring into the 2025 racing season as 3-year-olds is extremely impressive. Immersive, who is going to be the champion juvenile filly this year. East Avenue, remember him? Don't forget about him. I didn't think he could lose the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. a bad beginning cost him that race. If he comes back and he continues to develop the way I think his connections expect him to, he is going to be a major player on the road to the Kentucky Derby. First Resort, good cheer. Winner of the Goldenrod, undefeated. Another outstanding filly for Godolphin, trained by Brad Cox, just like Immersive. And then, of course, Poster and the Remsen. So Michael Banahan is going to be here in just a few minutes to walk through those horses. He'll maybe give you a glimpse into what you can expect from them moving forward in 2025. And that should be a really fun visit with Michael. Hour 3, Kevin Kilroy, 10 o'clock Eastern, with the TwinSpires triple play. He'll give you 3 races you can keep an eye on later today. Kurt Becker with a Stroll Through Racing History, a fun story about a horse named Ice Capade. That comes your way at 10:20, and at 10:30, Dale and Tim will be here with I Ask, They Answer. One of the things we're going to discuss on that edition of I Ask, They Answer today involves horses that aren't superstars. They're not mainstream household name type of horses, but for whatever reason, we will never forget them. And I'm going to ask Dale to tell us about the horses most people have never heard of that they will never forget. I have a couple. Red Hot Red, hard-knocking, claiming horse, ran in New York many years ago, back in the mid-'90s. And Mr. Sneak-a-Snack. And that one simply just because of his name. He ran at Rockingham Park. My wife, Michelle, and I, we loved his name. We would go there. He'd run a lot. And so we would see him all the time. We'd always bet on Mr. Sneak-a-Snack. Those are the type of horses I'm thinking about. I'll be curious to hear what Dale and Tim have to say, and I'm curious to hear what you have to say. I know there are horses that have captured your heart that people have never heard of, and I want to hear about them on today's show. So that's the poll question this morning. Tell us about the horses most people have never heard of, you will never forget. You can do that via email. Email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. You can do that, too, on our social media pages, at HRRN on X, and you can do Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, and post your comments there. And I will work them into the show as we move over the course of the next 3 hours. Tell us about the horses most people have never heard of that you will never forget. That should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And by the way, what brings this up is today is actually the anniversary of Georgia-bred Maybe Jack in 1997, on this very day, winning a match race against Pro on Ice at Suffolk Downs, which made him the winningest horse of that year with 13 victories. And I'm thinking, okay, most of us have never heard of Maybe Jack, but in honor of a horse like that, who did some wonderful things in his career, Maybe Jack started 122 times. You're probably hearing about him for the first time right now, for many of you. Those are the type of horses I'm looking for. So let me know. Hit us up on email, mike@horseracingradio.net, or on those social media pages, and I'll pass along the results as we move throughout the program here this morning. All right, Michael Banahan from Godolphin, set to join me in just a couple of moments. He will be with me after this short commercial break. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
His sire is one of the most exciting young stallions in the world. His dam has become one of the most important brood mares in the industry. And on the first Saturday in May, his genetic brilliance shined brightest on racing's biggest stage.
They come into the final 16, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby.
Mage, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
HRRN is live online. Go to our website at horseracingradio.net to stream all of our broadcasts live or listen to the show archives anytime. Read our blogs, get the latest news, and see our entire broadcast schedule. It's all there at horseracingradio.net. And follow us on Twitter at HRRN and like our page on Facebook. Search Apple Podcasts for HRRN and download our latest shows. HRRN is home to racing's biggest events, and our home on the web is at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Here is a champion, no doubt. The undefeated Immersive wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
Jonathan's Way runs out of racetrack. First Resort bounding home. Wins it by 3.
Tyler Gaffalio checks over his shoulder. A widening margin at the wire for East Avenue. 1 minute, 43.17 seconds. He wins it.
This filly is 4 for 4. Good Cheer dominates the goldenrod.
Poster needs a line. Aviator Key photo finish. Oh, it's a photo. Poster and Aviator Key right there at the line. Finishing third was Tux. Was that a record-setting ride for Flavia and Pratt? We'll find out. It's a photo in the Remsen.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Mike Penna with you on this Saturday morning. Happy to have you along for the ride as we get ready for Michael Banahan. He'll join me momentarily. We are reaching out to him at the moment and look forward to having him on the show. And he's going to talk about what you just heard. All of those impressive 2-year-olds, both on the colt and the filly side of things. And Godolphin is loaded moving into 2025, aren't they? You just listened to the clips that you just heard from the various announcers. And, yeah, I mean, they are loaded. Looking forward to this conversation with Michael. Again, we are efforting him at the moment. We'll have him on with us here in just a few minutes. I posed this question to Dale and Tim a few weeks ago, right before the Goldenrod, when Good Cheer rolled the victory there, remained undefeated for Brad Cox. She's the daughter of Darley Stallion Medaglia d'Oro. She joins Immersive as undefeated 2-year-old fillies in the barn of Brad Cox, owned by Godolphin. And I asked them, before the Goldenrod, who would you rather have right now? If you're trying to win the Kentucky Oaks, who would you rather have right now? Would you rather have Immersive or would you rather have Good Cheer? And it's hard. It's really hard to separate those two. I get it. Immersive is the more accomplished of the two, at least in terms of the Goldenrod's a beautiful win, and Good Cheer has dominated nobody's getting close to her right now. But Immersive has done it on a bigger stage. So I guess the way you have to look at these two is which one is going to continue to progress and get better and develop into their 3-year-old season, because the other juveniles are also going to be developing, the ones that they've been beating this year. And we see this all the time, and I talk about this on the program a lot with different trainers. How significant is the jump from a horse's 2-year-old season to their 3-year-old season? You can be the best in high school, but you go to college, and all of a sudden the competition catches up to you a little bit. You can be the best college player in the country. You jump to the NFL, and things are different. The game is faster. The athletes are better than what you've been facing. Very much the same thing with horses going from their 2-year-old campaigns to their 3-year-old campaigns. All of a sudden, some of those 2-year-olds that you were beating up on, maybe they progressed quicker than you have. Mentally, physically, whatever the case may be. And that could be the case for Immersive. Who knows? Right now, she's the leader in the clubhouse. She's going to be the champion, but Good Cheer, she ain't far behind. And I'm sure some people think she's even better than Immersive. But regardless, Godolphin is set for a huge season. And I talked about some of the other horses. You heard the calls of some of the colts that they have who will be on the road to the Kentucky Derby. Michael Banahan, that's a reason to get him fired up on this Saturday morning. And he's with me now here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Good to be here.
Yeah, we just played a montage of some of the top juveniles who are campaigned by Godolphin, and looking forward to seeing them as 3-year-olds. Immersive, Good Cheer. I was kind of going through that scenario just a couple of minutes ago. East Avenue, First Resort, Poster, who won the Remsen last weekend. Man, that's got to put a smile on your face just to hear those names.
Yeah, absolutely. We're in a very fortunate position. We have an awful lot of nice 2-year-olds that it all just clicked this year. Since Saratoga, when Immersive won the Spinaway, we've been on a tremendous roll. And one horse you've left out of there, Mike, that you might want to leave out is a horse called Sovereignty, an intermischief horse that won the Street Sense. And he was quite impressive doing that, breaking his maiden. And we like him a lot as well.
Yeah, Michael, you get so many in there. It's hard to, you can't fit them into a 3-hour show. There's so many good Godolphin horses out there.
Well, it's, as I said, we're in a lucky position. We've never had a group of 2-year-olds like this before. We're certainly enjoying our time, and it's setting up for maybe some fun days ahead in 2025. But as you mentioned, a lot can change between the 2- and 3-year-old year, and we understand that. But we wouldn't swap our position for anyone else's.
No, I don't blame you one bit. So in this conversation about Immersive and Good Cheer, I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago before she won the Goldenrod, and I asked people who they would rather have. And I posed that question to Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin on this show, too. Immersive is no doubt the leader in the clubhouse. She's going to be the champion. But Good Cheer, she has all kinds of ability. I'm not going to ask you to pick your favorite child, Michael, but compare the two and where they are in this stage of development right now.
Well, as you said, Immersive is there already. She's a quality filly, imposing, a lot of strength about her. On the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, she was probably the pick of the paddock, looked the part, and is there already. But at the same time, I still think there's plenty of developing in her, and her style of racing would indicate that she'll enjoy 2 turns and going a distance around as well. Good Cheer is probably more like your high school, middle school, high school basketball player, tall and lanky and unfurnished, and doing everything on pure talent at the moment. So I think a lot of people have said it to me as well, that they think that Good Cheer has more upside than maybe Immersive. But and I can see that. I can see why they say that. But at the same time, Immersive has won 3 Grade 1s. Good Cheer has won a Grade 2. And you have to give the leading role at the moment definitely to Immersive. And the only one that probably doesn't mind too much is the trainer. He seems like he's mob-handed with the filly division this year, and we just hope it's one of the 2 of those ones that can go on and be successful next year.
Yeah, and I love that. That's exactly what I was saying as we were working on reaching out to you and getting you on the show. I was talking about the development of these youngsters from 2 to 3 and how significant that really is. And I loved your analogy with Good Cheer, the high school basketball star that is so good right now. She's got to prove that she can continue to develop and equal horses like Immersive when she gets into her 3-year-old season. How much do you internally with Godolphin, how much do you talk about that development with your young horses, Michael?
Well, we're just grateful that we have enough of them that can show that talent. And if they have that innate talent, I think with the trainers we use, which from my perspective are some of the best in the country at developing horses, and Brad has done a phenomenal job with all our horses over the last few years and has developed some really, really good ones for us. So I think regardless if it's an immersive that put her hand up early on, and when she came up from Florida and started training in the Cox Barn in the springtime, and had shown that she was probably a pretty nice filly, whereas Good Cheer was going through the motions, doing everything fine. We liked her, but she hadn't shown that talent as of yet. So, but he's able to develop those ones at different stages of their career and still go forward where they can develop them even further as 3-year-olds and older horses. So I think we're in a tremendous spot with the people that we have helping develop these horses as well. And we're just grateful that we have 2 of them that are ranked in the top 5 in the country probably. And as Brendan Walsh always says to me, you can't have enough of them, So
yeah.
we all know that they'll hit bumps in the road. We're in a great spot at the moment, but every time the phone rings, you're worried about getting a call that you're not keen on receiving.
Let's talk about Brendan Walsh for a minute and about East Avenue, whom he trains. East Avenue is a horse who won the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland this year, and I did not think East Avenue could lose the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and I am still a massive fan of East Avenue looking ahead to this year's Kentucky Derby. Of course, a horrific beginning in the Juvenile cost him. Tell me more about what you've seen from East Avenue since the Breeders' Cup, Michael.
Well, we gave him a little bit of downtime, just not completely down, but just jogging and galloping every second day really easily at Churchill after the Breeders' Cup. Came out of the race perfectly fine. We were worried that maybe he grabbed himself or he did something. We were very fortunate that Tyler Gaffleone, who has been sitting on him since the springtime when he came up from Florida, and knew of his talent all along and was excited to be riding him in the Breeders' Cup, looked after him so well after that, and didn't try and force the issue too much. Once he came out of the gate so badly, the race was over there and then. So especially with the pace that they went that day, which we were hoping to be making that pace and having cruising around there. So he's done very well. He just moved down to the fairgrounds last week. He is probably the only 2-year-old we sort of have penciled in for a race at the moment, because he was the only 2-year-old colt we had post Breeders' Cup, right after the Breeders' Cup, that we were looking at going down that road at the time. So we probably he's going down to the fairgrounds and we pencil in the Risen Star for him, as long as everything goes well for him, So he'll pick it up here in December and probably start breezing in January or so. But he's done very well. We're still super excited about him. We still go back to his win at Keeneland, which was ultra impressive. And I never had so many people coming up to me independently at the Breeders' Cup, and people from overseas as well, just talking about East Avenue, about he was the pick of the week. He was the best looking horse on the grounds and all that type of stuff. So we can see why everyone's so excited about him. I remember just before they jumped out of the gates on the screen, he was the horse that all the analysts picked bar for one. And so it was very exciting to have a horse of that talent in the race. Equally disappointing with the break and knowing that the race was gone before they went 10 yards.
I'm glad to hear it wasn't just me who picked him to win that race. I really felt like I was the jinx. I was the mush, Michael. And yeah. I'm so glad to hear that it wasn't just me.
No, that's it was disappointing for Walsh Racing more than anything else, after having Maxfield out there a few years ago, which we thought had a big chance in the juvenile, came up with a foot issue the week of the race, and thought maybe he was going to get redemption with East Avenue, but didn't pan out like that. But anyway, hopefully we can have some big wins 2025 for him instead.
Visiting with Michael Banahan. He is the director of Bloodstock for Godolphin USA. Michael, how about First Resort and Poster? You mentioned Brad Cox is happy to have the two fillies in his barn. I'm sure Owen Hardy is happy to have these two colts in his barn as well.
Absolutely. And, delighted for Owen. He's been the longest-serving Godolphin trainer in the U.S., and, he's trained some super horses for us, from Breeders' Cup winner like Tempera years ago, and he conditioned Street Cry when he was a 2-year-old before he joined Saeed's bin Suroor's stable in Dubai. So he's been a long-serving trainer for us. Great that he's bounced back with a couple of really nice 2-year-olds, and both of them similar profiles, and that they went from a turf race to a dirt race. And all the people that look at that closely, anytime they see an Owen Hardy 2-year-old jumping from grass to dirt, now they'll be all over it. So super two super horses. Obviously Poster undefeated. It was a really nice win. We're glad to see the line come up in New York last week, but he probably got a bit green out there on his own, and he was. He did it as well as we thought he did. Flavian Prout was very complimentary about him, and he's going so well. He sort of knew he was going a bit early with him, but thought that was the right thing to do, which I think it was at the time. And glad he got home and got to the wire first. But I think we'll see lots of improvement out of him. He's a very late foal. He's a 20th of May foal, so he has a lot of improvement to do as well. And I think he probably grew a little bit and stretched out from his win at Keeneland to New York. And I think, over the next couple of months, he'll probably do really well and fill it to his frame again.
Michael Banahan here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Michael, always fun to catch up, my friend. Very happy holidays to you and to your family, and continued success with all the Godolphin horses, not just the 2-year-olds, but all the horses you're going to be campaigning in 2025.
I appreciate it very much, Mike, and likewise to you and all your family and listeners.
All the best. Michael Banahan here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Yeah, they are loaded, and decisions yet to be made on some of those juveniles, but East Avenue, you heard him say the Risen Star, a stepping stone to the Kentucky Derby for him. He'll take the Louisiana route, at least to start anyway. All right, coming up next, you're going to hear from Craig Bandoroff, who is set to be honored with the Uphill Push Award by Jockeys and Jeans at the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund fundraiser in early January. You're going to hear from Craig in just a few minutes. Plenty more to come after that, too. But first, your Legends of the Turf and a short commercial break.
Pouring back the sands of time through the hourglass of racing history to a late November day in 1923 brings us to the story of a match race between two superb thoroughbreds who squared off in a rubber match, having defeated each other once already. It was at Churchill Downs, and an enormous crowd had assembled for what promised to be a dandy in no uncertain terms. The combatants, Harry F. Sinclair's Zev and Carl Weideman's In Memoriam. Zeb had won the first confrontation between the two in that year's edition of the Kentucky Derby, and In Memoriam had turned the tables on his foe in the Latonia Championship Stakes barely 3 weeks before this particular match race. Each of the owners put up $10,000. The Kentucky Jockey Club did likewise. The winner was to take home $25,000, the loser $5,000. Earl Sandy was in the saddle on Zeb. Mac Garner drew the assignment on In Memoriam. Zeb was a big brown horse wearing blinkers for this match, and In Memoriam was a strapping bay with a deep chest and a long, free stride. When they lined up at the barrier, every eye was glued to the two stalwarts, and the excitement and anticipation of the moment was indeed intense. Zeb made a false start. Then starter William Hamilton let them go on their way to a race that to this very day underscored in the annals of sport as one of the all-time great ones. Zev broke out on top, but apparently under orders. Sandy wrapped up his mount a bit and let In Memoriam under Garner go on out to set the pace. Down the stretch, neath the hallowed TwinSpires and on into the turn, it was in memoriam by a length. On around the clubhouse turn, they stayed the same way, and as they went down the backside, in memoriam opened the lead up to a length and a half. At the half-mile pole, in memoriam headed by 2, and Zeb's fans began to wonder if their favorite could catch his rival, who was running easily and being well rated by Garner. At the 3 furlong marker, Sandy dropped his mount down and asked for a run, and a run he got. The white silks of the Rancoca stable, glistening in the fall sunlight, began to cut down the margin, and by the time they hit the top of the stretch, they were racing as a team, a ton of horseflesh pounding powerfully to the wire. This, my friends, was a horse race by any measure or means. In memoriam on the rail, Zev matching marvelous strides just to the outside of him. As they thundered down the straight, Zev drew away to an open length lead, and then a length and a half, but with a furlong to run. It was, for practical purposes, all over. It appeared in memoriam was a beaten horse. But wait just 1 minute. Garner began pumping, whipping, and driving furiously, and with enormous courage, in memoriam came on again, closing the gap with every long, smooth stride. Late on that bright, sunny autumn afternoon, with shadows creeping across the racing surface, these 2 titans of the turf, with their brilliant riders driving their mounts forward in synchronized motion, provided the vast throng with the most magnificent spectacle of sport. The crowd roar had been swelling to now reach a crescendo as the 2 locked together just noses apart, only jumps to the wire. The 40,000 on hand at Churchill that day breathlessly spent from what had been a spectacular race. As they hit the wire with in memoriam on the rail, Zev on the outside, nothing to separate them. Zev roared some, in memoriam roared others. It's a dead heat, yelled one spectator who nearly toppled from a perch on the grandstand roof from all the excitement. Jack Dempsey, a long-time well-noted turf observer, called it in memoriam by a nose. In memoriam, the wires flashed and the telephones called out. But wait just 1 minute. The call came out that Zeb had been declared the winner. So close was the finish that will always be, to this very day, a matter of dispute amongst those who saw it as to which horse actually had won it. There were no photographically recorded finishes in those days, only 3 placing judges hovering above the track at the wire, who apparently saw Zeb's brown nose at the wire, a bare fraction before in memoriam's ruddy bay nostrils. Both riders, Sandy and Garner, had handled their mounts beautifully. Losing owner Carl Weideman said to winning owner Harry Sinclair, quote, "It was a race fit for kings between the 2 best horses ever to be found," unquote. It all happened November of 1923 at Churchill Downs, a great moment in thoroughbred racing.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A 2-time Grade 1 winner at Saratoga with nearly $2.5 million in earnings and one of the best sons of Super Sire, Gunrunner.
And it is Gunite, and he's going to win the 117th running of the hopeful.
Gunite is maintaining the lead, and he will defeat Elite Power in the Forgo.
Gunite posted 9 triple-digit buyers, won 9 races, and hit the board in 19 of 21 starts. Precocious, fast, durable, and tough. Call the team at Ashford today to book your mare.
The championship meet is back at Gulfstream Park. Come to Hallandale Beach and experience the best in live racing action Thursday through Sunday, plus an expanded event schedule. Join us trackside at the Carousel Club or head upstairs to 10 Palms Restaurant with an elevated view of the track. Enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete all winter long. For stake schedules, reservations, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
As they come towards the quarter pole in the Kentucky Derby, and towards the inside it's Shackleton, Nero to the outside, Comet to the top, followed by Pants on Fire, then Animal Kingdom, followed by Mucho Macho Man, then Santiva, Stay Thirsty, Brilliant Speed, but it's Shackleton who still leads. Here's Nero on the outside, and Animal Kingdom is pouncing late on the John Velasquez. It's now Animal Kingdom on the outside who goes to lead for John Velasquez, and he's going clear by 2 lanes and running to the line. Animal Kingdom wins the Derby. Nero in second. In third came Mucho Macho Man. In fourth was Shackleton. And then Master of Hounds, Santiva, Brilliant Speed. And then Pants on Fire and Dialed In never got to them. It was Animal Kingdom for Graham Motion and John Velasquez, who took Derby 137.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Michael Banahan from Godolphin in the last segment. I know you're going to enjoy the conversation, which is coming up in this next segment. Animal Kingdom winning the Kentucky Derby in 2011, a special day for us here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. That was our first ever national radio broadcast of the Kentucky Derby. You heard Mark Johnson with the call. That's the call you heard on national radio with us here on HRRN. It was a special day for us. It was also special for the team at Denali Stud, including Craig Bandoroff and his wife Holly, the founders of that wonderful farm. They opened Denali in 1990, and in 2011, here comes Animal Kingdom, who was born and raised at Denali. And Craig's going to receive a special honor coming up next month at the Jockeys and Jeans event to benefit the PDJF at Gulfstream Park, and he's with me now to talk more about that. Craig, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Doing really well, my friend. Congratulations on the Uphill Push Award, which you will receive on January 11th at Gulfstream. Man, that's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you very much. You know, it's humbling, and I'm honored, and you know, there aren't many things I like to do less than talk about myself, but I guess I'm going to have to do that day in front of a bunch of Hall of Fame jockeys and some guys who, you know, certainly, and ladies that are injured a lot worse than I. But you know, it'll be a very meaningful day, and I'm looking forward to it.
It's understandable that you would be passionate about supporting the PDJF, because you were 19 years old in December of 1974. You were the leading apprentice jockey at Monmouth Park in Garden State. And at Garden State, you come out of the gate, your mount bolts into the inside rail shortly after the start, and your right arm is then paralyzed, and it's remained that way ever since. So this is an organization that is near and dear to your heart for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, Holly and I, and now Conrad, Claire, and Holly and I, you know, at the end of the year, we sit down and decide what charities we want to give to. And the PDJF has been one of those charities from the get-go. You know, it's you know, life has its twists and turns, and, you know, whether you're religious or not, God has a plan, and I guess he had a plan for me. But you know, after I was injured, I had to go to a rehabilitation hospital for a year. And, you know, when you go in there and you see quadriplegics and paraplegics and people with brain injuries, mostly from car accidents, and, you know, it's a real wake-up call. Not sure where society hides a lot of these people, because you don't see them that often, but, you know, look, I think jockeys are a very underappreciated part of our business. You know, every time they get a leg up, they're taking their life in their hands. And, you know, I don't think we as an industry treat them well enough. And, you know, anything we could ever do for the organization, I felt I wanted to do.
I know you, as you just said, Craig, you don't like talking about yourself. It might be your least favorite thing to do. So I'm going to ask you a question about you. We see Craig Bandoroff, and we see the team at Denali, and we see all the horses that you bring to auction and the horses that you raise and the success that you have had since opening Denali in 1990. But take me back to the beginning. What led to Craig Bandoroff wanting to become a jockey in the first place?
Well, it's an interesting story. Obviously I was little. I was a good athlete. I played my main sport growing up in high school, particularly with soccer. And, I was a pretty accomplished soccer player. I loved athletics. I tell people I was born with a gene where I love horses like everybody in this industry. Growing up in suburbia USA, I don't think I realized very often that I had that gene. But, serendipitously, two of my good high school friends, their father was a Hall of Fame jockey, Sam Bomitas. And at the time, he was a chief steward on the New Jersey circuit, including Garden State Park, which was in the town where I grew up. So, I tell this little story that one day I went over to, I asked them if I could meet him and talk to him, and we went to his house, and he had a big, pretty house in a really nice neighborhood, and there was a nice Mercedes-Benz in the driveway, and, he had a tall, pretty wife, and I kind of said to myself, well, there might be something to this jockey thing. So, so it was through Mr. Bomitas that, he encouraged me, and, first job he got me was on the farm because I didn't know anything about horses. And, that's when I first got on a pony. And then after that stint, he put me with my first trainer, which was a big claiming outfit, a guy named W.R. Prickett, one of the leading trainers through claiming horses. And then from there, I went to work for Marty Fallon, who was known for, developing apprentice riders. And back in that day, I doubt they still have this system, but, you went under contract to a trainer, and he held your contract, and in return gave you the opportunity to ride the stable. So, but as I said, I was athletic and I was little. The only time I ever had trouble making weight was when I had the 10-pound bug. That's really how it all started.
Yeah. As you're telling that story, and I'm thinking about the injury that eventually occurred and ended your riding career, I was thinking about when I was in high school, my senior year, and I was playing football, and I was, you've seen me, Craig, I'm not a fast guy. I'm not one of the speedy wide receiver type guys. I was a linebacker and I was a fullback, which meant with that team I was able to block a lot. I didn't get very many carries, but right before we were getting ready to play our biggest rival, they were moving me to halfback, and I was so excited. And the last play of the last practice before we were supposed to take on our arch rivals, I broke my leg, and it wrecked me. I was devastated. I was crushed that this occurred. That pales in comparison to what you went through with your career and the point that you were at. So after the injury, what led you to think, okay, pull myself up by my bootstraps and let's look at starting a farm, which turns out to be Denali Stud? What led you to that point?
Well, there's a lot to the story in between. After the injury, I remember, I grew up outside of Philadelphia, which of course had some of the best hospitals in the country. And, I went in to see a specialist at the University of Pennsylvania, and a woman, and she told me I'll never use my arm again. And I looked at her like, you must be crazy. That's not happening to me. So we had a good family friend who was a doctor, and he kind of oversaw my recuperation, and he sent me to a rehab center in northern New Jersey. Look, it was a long, hard road, but as I'll tell people at the event, I'd have never made it without my parents. They were there for me. They stuck by me. My mother was a fighter, and, she fought where she had to fight. And, long story short, I decided I would dedicate a year of my life to that. And I never wanted to look back and say, well, if I'd have tried harder, maybe I'd have got the use of my arm. That was all being a little naive because, any medical person would know if you look at the x-rays or whatever. I have what is called a brachial plexus injury. So the brachial plexus is a group of nerves that innervates the arm and the shoulder. And, where I was fortunate, it was because I was so strong and in such good shape. Instead of my spinal cord breaking, my arm got twisted in a, convoluted position and pulled the brachial plexus right out of the spinal cord. So there was never any chance for it to come back. And as I said, I was fortunate because where it happened, I'm not sure if I'd have been a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, but it would have been one or the other. But make a long story short, I was a good student, and I'd gotten some deferred acceptances to college because what I decided to do was to try to be a jockey right out of high school. And again, long story short, I went to the University of Virginia, started there, and it was a kind of a strange time in my life. I mean, I was lost. I didn't, all I knew was I never wanted to be around horses anymore, after this. And funny enough, I met a professor and his wife who had a small farm outside of Charlottesville with hunters and jumpers. And, I met them and started to hang around out there and kind of got reconnected with horses. And one day they said, okay, come on, let's get back on the horse. And, I got back on a horse just riding. Again, one thing leads to another, and somebody knew a very famous show horse rider, a man named Harry Dallaire, who people recognize the name of the horse Snowman, horse that he recovered from the kill pens and made into a champion jumper. And a friend of mine told him about me, and he said, well, if he wants to ride, let him come up here. I'll get him riding. And Mr. Dallaire designed a bridle. It was sort of like a water ski toe. The reins came back just into a dowel of wood, and I could steer with one hand. And I started, riding again. Hunters, schooling hunters, like the problem horses that he couldn't use in the lessons. And I spent a couple summers up there. And I told my children, I left UVA before they asked me to leave because, studying wasn't my priority at that stage of life. But, got reconnected to horses and said, I think I think this is probably what was meant for me. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I said, if you're going to learn about horses, I guess, you have to go to Kentucky. And enrolled in UK, and that's what I did. And there, I guess the best thing that ever happened to me was I met Holly. And, but professionally, I met Lee Eaton and Fred Seitz, and they got to see the auction side of things, and they were the two people that were really instrumental to help me get my career, restarted.
I'm sure that as you and Holly embarked upon this journey with Denali Stud in 1990, that there were some anxious moments early on, and you're kind of wondering, did we make the right decision? And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Craig. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but then was there a moment when you realized, oh my goodness, we can do this, and not only can we do this, we can be really good at what we're doing on this side of things?
Oh, I don't know. I'd put it that way, Mike. Look, I was fortunate. I went to Fasig-Tipton. Lee Eaton told him I went to him, and when I was getting ready to graduate, and said Fasig-Tipton had offered me a job, and starting at the, exorbitant salary of $18,000 a year. And Mr. Eaton said to me, you should pay them $18,000 a year. Go take the job. And so, life is about relationships and meeting the right people and hard work and getting lucky. And all those things happened. Barry Weisbord was the first one that, saw in me, him believed in me. And through Barry's company, I met some, really important people, R.D. Hubbard and, Robert Masterson. And, you start to hate naming names because you leave people out. But, Mr. Hubbard was particularly very instrumental in the starting days. And, he gave us a attractive arrangement leasing his farm. And, but, I don't think in business you ever can say, hey, I think we made it. Yesterday's yesterday, and nobody cares about what you did yesterday. It's about tomorrow. And, but certainly, Mr. Hubbard wrote a book, and one thing he said was, the definition of good luck is when opportunity meets hard work. And I don't think anything was ever truer said, but you have to have the opportunity. You have to meet the right people. You have to meet people that believe in you and are going to give you a shot. Bob and Beverly Lewis were huge because, we were young, we were unproven, and they gave us a chance. Right. And, so I think it's more of that. And then, look, I think people can say whatever they want to say about me, but I don't think anybody will ever say I wasn't a hard worker, and you got to work hard and you got to be smart about things. And you got to have, a wife who's in your corner and supporting you and picking you up when you get down. And with Holly's case, smoothing the edges when I would ruffle some. So, that would be more my perspective than, hey, I think we got there, because I think the minute you say that, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a great answer. Craig Bandoroff here on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Craig, listen, I have to get to a commercial break. We could spend another hour talking about your story and diving into some of the incredible horses that have come through your program and been raised on that farm in central Kentucky. But I really appreciate the visit here. Congratulations on the Uphill Push Award. Again, that's January 11th at Gulfstream Park. And if you're going to be in the area or you're thinking about making a trip, go to jockeysandjeans.com. It supports the PDJF, which is the official charity of the Horse Racing Radio Network. It has been for a very long time. It's a wonderful event. You'll get to meet some of the top jockeys of all time, and you'll get to meet Craig Bandoroff when you're there. Craig, happy holidays to you and to Holly and Conrad and Claire and the entire team over at Denali Stud.
Thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate it, and same to you and Michelle.
All right, congratulations, my friend. Craig Bandoroff here on HRRN. Yeah, what a story. Fantastic story and very deserving of that Uphill Push Award, no doubt about it. When I come back, I'll get you ready for hour number 2. It kicks off with trainer Michael Matz. I'll tell you who else is set to join us in the second hour of the program. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Hi, Tony.
Hey, Matthew.
There's a reason why Tony's Steaks and Seafood is my favorite restaurant. It's because I want to feel part of the family. Isn't that right, Tony?
That's right. There's a saying on the wall that I truly believe in. There's always room for one more at our table. We just want you to be part of our family.
And believe me, you will be. It's Tony's Steaks and Seafood right across from Triangle Park. Visit them at TonySteaksandSeafood.com.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov. HRRN.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
As the field turns for home in the Kentucky Derby, Barbaro turns it on, and his stablemate showing up in second. Bluegrass Cat is third. Brother Derek putting in a late run on the far outside. Steppenwolfer is fifth, and Sweet Northern Saint sixth toward the rail, but they're coming to the finish, and it is all Barbaro in a sublime performance. He runs away from them all, and he has saved something left for the Preakness. Barbaro wins by 7. Bluegrass Cat was second. Steppenwolfer was third. Three-way photo for fourth.
Tom Durkin with the call. Barbaro dashing to victory in the 2006 running of the Kentucky Derby. A sublime performance it certainly was, and he remained undefeated with that win in Louisville. In just a couple of moments, going to welcome his trainer, Michael Matz, to the program. If you recall, along the road to the Kentucky Derby in 2006, Barbaro won the Tropical Park Derby. That race is renewed later today at Gulfstream. So in honor of that race being run this afternoon, I thought it would be cool to look back on one of the greatest to ever win it, and Barbaro and Michael Matz. So he'll be with me in just a couple of moments to kick off hour number 2. Don't forget our poll question this morning. I'm asking you, Barbaro certainly wouldn't fit into this conversation because he was so well known, but maybe not in the beginning, but he became really well known. But I'm asking you to let me know the horses that most people have never heard of that you will never forget. Share your thoughts with us on X, and you can do that too on Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, and email the show, Mike at horseracingradio.net. I'm going to update the results and the comments we're receiving to that question as we move throughout the program. Looking forward to talking about Barbaro. Any chance you get an opportunity to welcome Michael Matz to the show, you do it. He's with me next, right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of 3 here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on this Saturday morning. I hope you enjoyed the first hour of the show. My conversation with Michael Banahan from Godolphin and Craig Bandoroff just a few moments ago, walking through his highly interesting story. Really inspirational. If you missed any portion of those conversations or any of the shows we bring your way throughout the entire week, all you have to do is head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can listen to the podcast of this show after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern, and you can do that too on every podcast platform. So however you get your podcasts, type in Horse Racing Radio Network and follow along each and every week. Michael Matz set to join me momentarily. He'll kick off hour number 2. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to sit down with Hall of Fame jockey Javier Castellano. You're going to hear that extended conversation coming up right around 9:20. Hour 3 begins at 10 Eastern with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin Kilroy will give you 3 races to keep an eye on this afternoon. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. Dale and Tim with I Ask, They Answer at 10:30 to wrap up this week's edition of Equine Forum. Michael Matz is with me now. It was a special day in 2006 when they ran the Tropical Park Derby on New Year's Day. He saddled Barbaro, and he won that race, and he continued to win all the way through the Kentucky Derby. And Michael is with me now. Michael, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. You know, in honor of the Tropical Park Derby being renewed at Gulfstream this afternoon, I could think of nobody better to welcome to the program and no better horse to talk about than maybe the most famous winner of that race. No disrespect to Kitten's Joy, who also won it, but Barbaro, my goodness, was he good that day.
You know, he was a good horse every day. I mean, it's one of those things. We're still looking for another one, but they're hard to find.
How often are you asked by fans, by people in the industry, how often are you asked about Barbaro, even to this day?
Well, you know, it's been quite a while right now. It's it's like 18 years, and not too often anymore. I mean, it was a lot before, but it's getting to the point right now where there's so many good horses coming up, and everybody gets kind of faded away a little bit.
Michael, I went back and pulled up the chart of his first career race. That happened October 4th, 2005. I'm sure you have that date memorized as well. It was at Delaware Park, and I couldn't believe that you could have gotten almost 8-1 on Barbaro that day, and he wins by 8.5 lengths.
Well, I mean, we had the horse ready to run, except, we just couldn't find the right race for him. We would have run him on the dirt at that time, but we just didn't have a race that came up, and I'll never forget Mrs. Jackson was standing there, and first of all, he didn't want to go into the gate, and she looked at me and she goes, "What's that?" I said, "I have no idea." And then when he ran like that, then she didn't say another word. So he was a pretty special horse, that's for sure.
Did you know, you said you had him ready to run, but did you know even before you walked him over for that first start that you had something special with him?
We worked him with older horses, and the man who rode the horse, Peter Brett, was my assistant at the time. He's a great rider, and he was a jockey himself over in Europe, and when he was in Dubai, and he always, when I said sometimes I would say, he's going to work with an older horse and stuff like that. And I said, "This is a good workhorse, Peter. Don't worry." And he always would look at me and say, "Don't worry about him." And he rode some good horses like Street Cry and things like that. When he was in Dubai, so he knew what a good horse was.
He got a bit more respect in his next start, the Laurel Futurity, but he still didn't go postward as the favorite that day. And all he did that afternoon was win by 8 lengths, and that set him up beautifully for what would become the debut, his 3-year-old debut on January 1st of 2006. After seeing him in the Laurel Futurity and seeing him prove that his maiden win was legit, what was going through your mind as you were preparing him for his 3-year-old campaign?
Well, like I said, we knew we had a nice horse, and obviously horses by Dynaform are, you would think all the time they could run on the turf, which they did, but we were just, the races just sort of fit in line and stuff, and after he won impressive like that at Calder, we decided to, we have to try him on the dirt, see what he was like. Because he always worked well on the dirt, and we really had no hesitations for his first race. So the turf race just came up like that, and this is what happened.
Yep, yeah, and that's a great point, too, that Calder was the site of the Tropical Park Derby in 2006. It is now, of course, with Calder being closed, run at Gulfstream Park. Yeah, and so after the Tropical Park Derby, you say, all right, we've wanted him on the dirt maybe since his debut. and then you go to the Holy Bull. How much confidence did you have going into that race?
Well, I was ready to scratch him that day because it rained horrible, and again, if it wasn't for Peter saying, "What if this happens in the Derby? If we get there, then what are you going to do? You're certainly not going to scratch then." And so I said, "Okay." And the Jacksons were in the Bahamas at the time, and they had a heck of a time getting over there to watch the race, but. It was still the fact that when it came up sloppy like that and it was sealed track and there always was a question, is he a turf horse or can he run on the dirt? So those questions always came about that. But by the time we took him to the Florida Derby, I mean, I was nervous about having an outside post position, and Edgar was not worried at all. But that's, when he came out of that race, I think was the first time that he ever got tested, that he really, showed that he was, a top horse, and he knew how to win.
I remember being there that day when he won the Florida Derby, and all the talk was about that outside post and how horses can't win from out there at Gulfstream going that distance around. And he answered every single question, and not only did he answer it, Michael, he answered it emphatically.
But, probably not too many people would know that unless they were there. But when we were taking him over to get saddled up, they had those temporary stalls there where they were using. It was right around between the quarter pole and the eighth pole. And we were... Just to give you an idea how strong this horse was, we were giving him a bath, and I was wiping it off, and some of the, and I knew sometimes he could cow kick, so I was really aware of it, but he just, some of the water, when I was using the sponge over him, fell on his foot, and he did it almost like in slow motion, but he caught underneath my arm, and literally flung me to the back of the stall. That's how strong it was. It wasn't like a kick, wow. But he just almost like a fly was there. And literally I hit the back of the stall and stuff like that. And that's why Peter saddled him in the Florida Derby, because I couldn't use my arm. That's how strong that horse was. And, he wasn't doing it mean. He just thought there was a fly hitting him in his legs. And at that point, the horses came around from the previous race, but I was covered with shavings. I said, Jesus, my arm was so swollen after the next day you couldn't believe it.
Oh, my. But, it's not often we hear about a trainer scratch before a race.
Exactly. I mean, Peter had to saddle him, because I couldn't pull it up. And the next day I even went to the doctor to get x-rays so it wasn't broken. But he just said, "Oh, you'll be fine." He said, "It's just bruised real badly." But he was just, there was just something about him. It was plus through his wind or his blood or his strength, but he just, like I say, and even the day when he ran in the Derby, when he came back after the race, I patted him on the neck. His skin was just hot. It wasn't even sweaty.
Wow.
I mean, it was just and when he was getting operated on after his accident, one of the doctors came up to me and said that when you have that horse, when a horse is under anesthesia for that long, they sometimes will start to shake and get cold and everything like that. He said, but never at all with him. He said, there must have been something with his breathing and through his blood or whatever that made him just sort of a special horse.
He was special. He has a special trainer in Michael Matz as well. Looking for the next Barbaro. The quest continues. It's hard to find those types of horses, Michael.
A long time.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, it really does make you appreciate the exceptional ones when they come through your barn, doesn't it?
Oh, that's for sure. I mean, I was lucky enough to have one, so you can't be greedy.
What is your most prized piece of Barbaro memorabilia that you still have?
Well, we did have the blanket of roses frozen, and Peter took half and I took half. But unfortunately, we had a fire in our barn 3 years ago, and that got burnt up in the fire. So I guess that would have been it. I do have a lot of, the programs and the things that, the videos and stuff that you can watch. And, there's been so many stories about Barbaro that, it's not very hard to find anything that you want to find about the horse. But, and I think with all that happened to him through his racing and through his career when he was fighting his accident, the people really sort of, I think it was a time that they sort of, the whole community for racing pulled together. And, it was, I think he's probably, plus his racing, plus what that, he's probably known for those things, it was just amazing the things that happened at New Bolton Center, the letters, the people calling, sending things and stuff like that. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it did bring the entire industry, the entire sport, not just in the United States, but worldwide together in a way.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I think that's as much of Barbaro's legacy, Michael, as winning the Kentucky Derby.
No, I think you're right. I mean, it's and the Jacksons have so many things that people send them. It's really nice to see.
That's beautiful. Do you ever go back and watch his Kentucky Derby win?
All the time.
Yeah? Hey, that'll make you feel good.
I guess if you can't find another one, you have to watch what you have.
Yeah, well, Michael, listen, I really appreciate the conversation here this morning. It has been so much fun to look back on Barbaro and his career. You can never talk about Barbaro enough, in my opinion. And whenever you get a chance, I said this earlier, to have Michael Matz join you on the program, you do it. So, Michael, appreciate the visit. All the best to you and to your family this holiday season. Happy holidays, and here's to finding another Barbaro in 2025.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, buddy. I mean, you could hear, even here we are, 18 years after Barbaro, and you could hear Michael get choked up when he started talking about Barbaro bringing the industry together, the sport together. I mean, everybody was cheering for Barbaro to be able to pull through. And to this day, it's still emotional for Michael Matz. And I loved his answer. Goes back and watches the Kentucky Derby all the time. I would watch it. I would have it playing on a loop. If I ever trained a horse that won the Kentucky Derby, I've said this to Alan Sherman before, who trained California Chrome along with his dad, Art. I just have it playing on a loop in my house all the time. So when people came over, it was the first thing they saw. They'd be forced to watch the Kentucky Derby. Because it is ridiculously hard to get a horse to the Kentucky Derby, then to win a horse, and to win it with a generational type of horse like Barbaro is, I mean, it's almost hard to find words for what that accomplishment means to the connections. And the other cool part of that story, and I did not recall Michael having to be scratched from saddling Barbaro before the Florida Derby, because Barbaro sent him flying to the back wall and messed up his arm. But there were instances throughout his career that maybe we never would have gotten to see this story unfold. There were many decisions that had to be made that could have led to Barbaro taking a whole different path, and who knows where things go from there. You heard him talk about his first career start at Delaware Park, and he didn't want to load into the gate. Well, what if for some reason he had to be scratched that day? Then where does he end up running again? Does he go to the Laurel Futurity? Does he go to another race? Does it lead him down to South Florida? What about the Holy Bull? When the track came up incredibly sloppy, and Michael said, I actually thought about scratching him that morning, and he was talked into not scratching him. really fascinating when you hear the story behind the story. And that's what I love so much about bringing you these conversations. I learned an awful lot, too. And my thanks to Michael Matz for being with me here this morning. All right, coming up next, you're going to hear my extended conversation with Hall of Fame jockey Javier Castellano. He returned to his native Venezuela this past week to compete in a Jockeys challenge, but he had a surprise waiting for him when he got there, and it was really special. He's going to tell you that story next. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
They're about 8 lengths clear of the rest. It's Look Forward on the inside, and Tenma fighting it out tooth and nail. Tenma in the ascendancy. Tenma dredging clear, and Tenma takes the Starlet.
Tenma, the daughter of Darley Stallion Nyquist, with another game victory in the Grade 2 Starlet last Saturday. Now 3 for 4 to begin her career, the Starlet is her second Graded Stakes win to go along with her score in the Grade 1 Del Mar Debutante in September. A win which makes her your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Nyquist. Not only is he the best sire of Grade 1 juveniles since Danzig, he is 2024's leading sire by percentage of Grade 1 winning 2-year-olds to runners. Nyquist stands for a 2025 fee of $175,000 live full. Learn more about Nyquist and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
HRRN is live online. Go to our website at horseracingradio.net to stream all of our broadcasts live or listen to the show archives anytime. Read our blogs, get the latest news, and see our entire broadcast schedule. It's all there at horseracingradio.net. And follow us on Twitter at HRRN and like our page on Facebook. Search Apple Podcasts for HRRN and download our latest shows. HRRN is home to racing's biggest events, and our home on the web is at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And Two Phils has taken the lead. Two Phils turns for home in front by 2. Mage is coming down the center. Hit Show is there. King's Barnes gives way. Angel of Empire with powerful strides down the center of the track, but there's 1 furlong to go. Two Phils fights on, but Mage has taken the lead. Angel of Empires are rallying third. Time is running out to catch Mage. Mage digs down deep, urged onto the wire to win the Derby. Mage the winner. Two Phils was second. Angel of Empire was third, and Disarm came on for fourth.
That's Travis Stone with the call of the Kentucky Derby in 2023. It was a special day for Mage, for the team surrounding Mage, including his Hall of Fame jockey Javier Castellano, who got that Kentucky Derby victory. And Javier has had so many special moments over the course of his Hall of Fame career. 5,825 wins, something like that. It's ridiculous how many races the guy has won. He's also won countless Breeders' Cup races. He's won so many of the biggest races that we have in our sport. But this past week, the reason I asked Javier to join me on the show, this past week, he returned to his home country of Venezuela, where he competed in a jockey challenge of sorts. He won 2 of those races, as you might expect. And he was also honored with the unveiling of a statue, a Javier Castellano statue, which is now there at the racetrack in the paddock area. It is really neat. He posted pictures on his social media pages, and I knew I had to reach out to him and hear the story. And he's with me now here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Javier, appreciate the time. Congratulations on that really cool honor.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to enjoy to wonderful show.
Listen, that statue's really neat, and I saw some of the pictures you put out there on social media. Don't take this the wrong way, but man, I think the statue might look a little bit better than the original.
Yeah, they did. Actually, they did a great job with the statue. They did an amazing job. The material, the quality, and it's amazing. I could imagine when I started my career, how I can end up, the beautiful statues and Hall of Fame, win the Kentucky Derby. I could imagine go through those beautiful moments. I'm very blessed, and God gave me those gifts. I always blessed and thankful and grateful, appreciate for God give me so much talent and people that give me opportunity to get to the level where I am, because without those people, I wouldn't be here. I've been grateful, and it's a beautiful moment in my life.
The statue almost looks as if it's gold. Is it gold?
It looked like gold. And some point I said, man, that's beautiful. It looked like gold. But I said, no, it's not gold. But it's so wonderful, brilliant. The way they design, the color, the material, very good quality statue. And plus the way they did it, the way right in the middle of the paddock, when they saddle the horses, that statue is going to be, they told me it's going to be forever. It's going to be something like, I could imagine my life, my statue is going to be there for the rest of the life. And it's amazing. A lot of emotion, a lot of moments. I cry, I laugh here, and it's wonderful. It's see when people, they treat you that way, the people that respect you like human being, that recognize all you did in your career. It's a great feeling, like human being. You feel like, I appreciate you, grateful. Thank God give me opportunity to be here in my country, and they're recognizing my career as a jockey. It's a wonderful, wonderful moment.
We are going to share the picture that you posted on your social media pages. We'll share that on our X page, and we'll do that on Facebook too, so that people can get a nice look at the statue and how cool it really is. When you went to Venezuela to compete in those races, did you know that they were going to unveil a statue of you at the racetrack?
I didn't know. I have some idea a little bit. They told me it's going to be some ceremonies. It's going to be honest to me by the paddock. It's going to be some celebration. It's going to give me some awards to win the Kentucky Derby last year, to be Hall of Fame rider, to be recognized as my 4-time Eclipse Award, Breeders' Cup, Triple Crown race, Obama State. They feel like they owe me something. I didn't feel that way. I show proud where I come from, Venezuela, and be recognized that way. I think the president of the racetrack, he decided to do something really nice. I thought it's going to be a award. It's going to give me some trophies or something like that. But when I see the statues, and I see some statue in the cover, and they asked me to open up the blind, the cover, and it's amazing. It's a beautiful moment. I feel the same way like I win the Kentucky Derby again.
Yeah, the video of the unveiling is cool, and you could sense the love, right? You are beloved in the racing industry in Venezuela, and what you have done for jockeys and for the Venezuelan racing industry, bringing it to the forefront here in the United States with all of your successes, is really remarkable, Javier. And again, I couldn't be happier for you as I was watching all of that unfold. With that racetrack, and correct me if I say the name wrong, but Hippodromo La Rinconada, is that how you pronounce it?
That's correct.
Okay. Is that the racetrack where you began riding in Venezuela?
No, another track. I began to, my first step, it was like a couple months. Another country they call Santa Rita. It's like Santa Anita, but Santa Rita. Now it's not existing anymore. They disappeared. They closed the track. But that's where I started my first 6 months. And then another 5-6 months, I did it in Caracas, La Rinconada. That's what I rode over there. Most winners over there. And by that time, I won like 50 winners before it came to this country, United States. And that's my first step, basically my second step. Because when I started rolling 3 winners, and then I decided to go to like the capital, Caracas, La Rinconada, one of the best like Thomas state. That's the big stage, and that's what I rode over there.
Okay, so the pictures of the racetrack looked really, really nice. And you and I were talking off air before we started the conversation, and you said you were blown away at how beautiful it really is, and you kind of felt like you were riding in Southern California at Santa Anita. So tell me more about it.
That's correct. It looked beautiful. Beautiful track, beautiful view. The view, you can stand up at the grandstand, you can see the track, and you can see the beautiful mountain. All green, nice, good looking, and the weather's great. It's like 60s, 65, 70s degree in the morning all day. At night, I get 80 a little bit, but now humidity. The weather's amazing. The views also. The track is so nice. They're taking care of the track, nice and clean, painted. The grandstand is in good shape. Everything, the pad is amazing. The material, everything, and inside the restaurant, the jockey room, everything they done over there is first class. They're taking care of. I'll put that racetrack from Venezuela here. I picked the 5 top racetrack, the best racetrack in the country. It's amazing the way he's beautiful, and everybody impressed. All the jockeys, Kimura from Japan, Dylan Davey from United States, Joel Rosario from Dominica, John Velasquez from Puerto Rico, Ricardo Santana, Panama. And everybody we saw is how beautiful the racetrack, everything's so organized, everything, they do the right thing for the sport, for the races. And they, trust me, they ahead us for a little bit.
Wow, that is so cool. You know, Javier, I remember you and I talking a while back. Maybe it was even when I first got the chance to get to know you, and you were talking about your love of baseball and how you thought at one point before you became a jockey that maybe you wanted to play baseball for a living and be a major leaguer. Well, as you were standing alongside the statue, one of the pictures you have is with a legendary baseball player. Tell me more about that moment in Venezuela this past week.
It's beautiful because when I grew up, I'm from Venezuela. We are in Venezuela. The biggest sport is baseball. We all, little kid, we have a dreaming. We want to do something in life. We have a lot of dream to be athlete, baseball player. I think I ended up to ride horses. My father was a jockey, and it was my hero. I want to be superstar in my life and my career. And thank God I decided to became jockey. But I always like to be a baseball player because I didn't have a good side. I was short, small. I think maybe I'm born to be jockey. And being thankful for that, be grateful that skill God gave it to me. I appreciate that. And baseball player is huge. The president of the racetrack, the CEO of the racetrack, he was a baseball player. He played for 20 years. His career, he played in the major league here. He know the life, the athlete, he know the sport. He love horses. He always taking care of the jockeys, always worry about the jockey, the horses, the people he work in the restaurant, how hard it is. He always appreciate that. That's the one reason he like to always do the right thing. They're looking for everybody taking care. Horses for jockeys training, and they always try to step up the races in Venezuela. He want to put in another level. The people recognize that we are the best over there in races, and we are trying to do the right thing for the horses. And I give all the credit to Antonio Alvarez, one of the guy. Without him, will be no races in Venezuela. And we're grateful for all the time, the effort he makes to be one of the best our country in whole race.
It's fantastic stuff. Javier Castellano, the Hall of Famer, with me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, looking back on that special moment this past week where he returned to his home country and the unveiling of a Javier Castellano statue, which is going to stand in the paddock area at that iconic racetrack now, and it's a special, special moment for him. Javier, when you think about your career, and you said, when you started, you never would have imagined it would end up here, but you think about 5,800-plus wins, 12 Breeders' Cups, 2 Preakness wins, a Derby, a Belmont, all the Eclipse Awards, the Hall of Fame. What's the when you think about everything you've accomplished, what's the one thing that Javier Castellano is most proud of?
I don't know, everything. It's hard to pick a one because you have to be. It's so many great moments. I've been thankful, grateful. God give me the gift. I'm being so proud. My family support. My family always be there, and the good one, the bad one, and that's a good thing when you finish a race. You came home, your family next to you. My mom, my brothers, and sister, and I mean that's one of the most wonderful you feeling that human being when you finish the races. Your family support you. I'm proud with that, and think I'm being grateful. I mean, think everything when it started, you always have a dream. You always want to do good in your life, and you work for it. You work hard for to be one of the best in everything. Think I'm being grateful. Think I'm being a lot of help, a lot of people that helped me to put me in another level. And I never miss all those opportunities because I believe life is about opportunity, but you got to earn it yourself. You got to work for it, and you got to work hard for dedication, discipline, and a lot of tough time you got to go through to get to where you want to be in the life. And thank God being healthy and grateful and keep going what I'm doing. That's no word to describe what I feel now.
Yeah. What still motivates you, Javier, and still drives you and keeps you hungry?
I don't know. I love so much my job, my sport, racing, horses, people, and that's made me competitive, be there every single day, try to win races, try to be better and better. Try to make it better as professional, as a human being, help the people and motivate the new generation, help the new generation can be better. The new riders, they come from different places, different countries, different everywhere, and try to have a dream. Like I have a dream when I was starting my first step in my career. And I wish people they can tell me how do you do in my life. And he wasn't. But I'm earning my stuff and think that being grateful. But I'm here for that. Be competitive, win races, help people, and try to keep doing better and better and better.
Yeah, people like yourself, John Velasquez, Mike Smith, kind of I'll call it the old guard in the jocks room now. You're now the veteran. You're the one that's helping the young riders that are coming up. And you were once that young rider. And it's kind of like, I remember when I first met you in the jocks room at Gulfstream Park, and I met you with Johnny. He introduced me to you. And at that point, that was, my goodness, that was almost 30 years ago now. And you think about where you were there, where you are today, and your role has now changed in the sport, right? You're the one who is trying to mentor some of the young kids. Do you find that, Javier, you have to work even harder now to be able to compete with those jockeys, the younger jockeys in the afternoons?
Absolutely. It's so competitive game. We don't take anything for granted because Hall of Fame, I think that's going to give away to me easy. No, even worse because you have to be a sample for those people and you have to be competitive. You have to be hard. You have to be there. You have to ride hard. You have to be smart. And you have to be competitive to compete with the new talented rider. Everything has changed outdated. And whatever we learned in the past, now you have to be compete with those new generation. They're learning something different way. And that's what I believe our game is so competitive. You can't take anything granted. Our sport, and it's a hard sport to compete. You have to be dedication yourself. Doesn't matter what age, doesn't matter how many horses you win or how many races you are, you still compete in the ground face-to-face with all the riders. That's why you have to be always out there. You have to be there to compete, to try to be the best, and teach the new generation the good way, how you can manage yourself and you compose yourself and try to be the best in the game.
How much can you rely on all of your experience to give you an edge when you're racing against a less experienced new rider in the sport? Is there something to be said for that experience?
Absolutely. It's a very big age because they don't sell in the grocery store and the supermarket. You earn it yourself. It's in your body. It's in your mind. And that's the age you take a little advantage with the other new generation you compete. People, they made mistakes. We all made mistakes. But the key is in our sport, the less you make mistakes, that's what you want to earn it. And just you earn it to win the game and the races. And, of course, a lot of moments, the new people, the new generation, they don't go through. They made a mistake. You take advantage, and you there, and you win race.
My thanks to Javier for joining me for that conversation yesterday. And one of racing's really good people, and, of course, an outstanding rider. That goes without saying. But his accolades and his the way that they honored him in Venezuela this past week was really, really cool. So congrats to Javier, and all the best to him and his family going forward. Speaking of going forward, coming up next, I visit with Dora Delgado, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Racing Officer of the Breeders' Cup. She received a special honor this week when she was recognized with this year's Clay Pewitt Award by the University of Arizona Racetrack Industry Program. I'll tell you more about that coming up next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's Voice.
This is HRRN, Horse Racing's Voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
When it's time to paint the fences and barns, think Farm Paint. At Farm Paint, you get the industry's best coatings and paints factory direct at low, low prices. Farm Paint is your source for quality paints, roof coatings, dustless arena footings, and more. You can purchase online or drop into a Farm Paint store near you with locations in Heart of Bluegrass Country at 700 Phillips Lane in Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and Sandusky, Ohio. Buy factory direct and save at farmpaint.com. That's farmpaint.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Touch Upon a Star in front for Tim Thornton at the quarter pole. Dumbarumba second. Well back. Bayou Jam and finally Cosmic Train. Last to make the top of the fairground stretch. Touch Upon a Star leads Dumbarumba now by 3 with 1 furlong to go. Tim took a peek back, and Touch Upon a Star has widened to a 4-length lead. Dumbarumba second, well clear. They're coming up toward the line. Touch Upon a Star. Dumbarumba chased throughout. Touch Upon a Star. Dumbarumba. The Louisiana Champions Day Classic. 1-2. Cosmic Train and Bayou Jam was last to the 4. 150.12. Touch Upon a Star. Wire to wire.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Touch Upon a Star. John Dooley had the call of him winning the Louisiana Champions Day Classic Stakes for the second time. That was last year, a second consecutive victory. He goes for 3 in a row later today. And it would be a cool story. The Louisiana bred has earned just shy of $1 million in his career. He has been arguably one of the most successful Louisiana breds we've ever seen, and that's probably not even up for debate. $932,000 in career earnings. He's won 12 of 18 lifetime starts and looks to add to that later today. And he is owned by Jake Delhomme's Set Hut stable, trained by Jake's brother, Jeff. That's always a cool storyline because I love when you have athletes and people from other professions, other walks of life that get involved in the game, and that's certainly the case with Jake Delhomme. You heard him on this program last year, talking about Touch Upon a Star going for 2 in a row, and today, as I mentioned, looking for 3 in a row at the fairgrounds on Louisiana Champions Day. Well, Dora Delgado was set to join us to talk about receiving the Clay Pewitt Award this past week, but unable to be here. So you're going to hear from Dora next week on the show. She, of course, the longtime chief racing officer of the Breeders' Cup. She's also the executive vice president, does a wonderful job, very deserving of that award. And you'll hear from her coming up next Saturday morning, talking about her career and talking about what it means to be honored with a very, very prestigious award. So we'll do that next. Of course, if you missed any portion of the first 2 hours of the program, you missed a lot. You missed that conversation with Javier Castellano. If you're just joining us, I had Javier in the previous segment. Michael Matz was with me, remembering Barbaro. Craig Bandoroff from Denali. Michael Banahan of Godolphin, talking about all of their promising 2-year-olds that are looking to turn 3, will turn 3, January 1st, unofficially, for all thoroughbreds. And they will be pointed to the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. And if you missed all that, head back to the website, check out the podcast. Coming up in hour number 3, 10 Eastern, begins with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin Kilroy will take a look at 3 races you can play at TwinSpires this afternoon. All 3, by the way, coming from the fairgrounds. 10:20, Kurt Becker takes you on a stroll through racing history. And at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin. Well, news coming out yesterday that we lost a couple of big-name thoroughbreds who were retired and living their best life. And unfortunately, Lemon Drop Kid and Always Dreaming leaving us. And that's a big loss for all of us who grew up watching horses like Lemon Drop Kid and remembering Always Dreaming and that Kentucky Derby and how special that was. I thought it would be appropriate, since we have a few minutes now, to remember both of those horses by looking back at some of their signature performances.
There goes Lemon Drop Kid just rushing to contention. Lemon Drop Kid, and on the inside, Vision and Verse. Lemon Drop Kid on the outside, Vision and Verse. Charismatic is beaten. Here's the finish. It's going to be tight. Lemon Drop Kid, I believe, held on to win it by a head.
And the field turns for home. Vision and Verse has emerged with a short lead. Lemon Drop Kid right there on the outside. Catleaf is now back to third. Menifee and Exton Park both closing. They're coming into the final furlong now. Lemon Drop Kid on the outside. For the inside, Vision and Verse. And Menifee is coming with his run. The time is running out. Lemon Drop Kid and Vision and Verse. It looks like a reprise of the Belmont. Menifee is finishing third. It is Lemon Drop Kid. He has won it.
Always Dreaming set down for the drive by John Velasquez, and he's moving away. State of Honor is up into second, an impressive edge. Ganavera too little, too late. But inside the 16th pole, the 2017 Florida Derby to Todd Pletcher. And Always Dreaming, they won it by 4 in the end.
Always Dreaming with a 2.5 length lead at 16th to go. Looking at Lee is second. Then comes Battle of Midway, Classic Empire. They're coming to the line, and the dream comes true. Always Dreaming has won the Kentucky Derby.
Always Dreaming, Lemon Drop Kid. They will certainly be missed, and they're remembered on this Saturday morning here on the Equine Forum. Our thoughts going out to all of those associated with both of those outstanding racehorses. I threw out a poll question for you. Now, Lemon Drop Kid and Always Dreaming wouldn't necessarily be viable answers to this week's question because they are so well known. But I'm asking you to tell us about the horses that most people have never heard of, which you are never going to forget for whatever reason. It could be, more than likely, it's going to be a very personal reason for you. So tell us about the horses that most people have never heard of that you will never forget. And our friends at Mojo Racing Partners saying that they have 3. Jackrabbit Fast, Thermistor, and She's For You. Todd writes to us on X and says, Superfuse. And the story is that Chris Thomas was the local sports talk radio host and big-time horse player. He was co-owner of that horse, won a race at 33-1, and had some 100-plus buyers. So Superfuse, the horse that Todd is never going to forget. And David in Grafenberg, Kentucky, sends to us and says, you won't get any with this name. Hudson County. He ran second in the 100th Derby, which was David's first Kentucky Derby. Unheralded would be a big understatement. Cannonade won, but the unheard story of Hudson County was ahead of the big pack of 23, running second or third the whole way. Yeah, I always thought the race he ran that day was gallant, but largely forgotten. And I told you for me, and by the way, I think we have 1 or 2 on Facebook here. I'll pass those along for you here in just a second. But I'll tell you about mine in just a second. I'm going to ask Dale and Tim. Dale Roma's Tim Wilkin, the same question at 10:30 Eastern with I Ask, They Answer. I'm really anxious to hear their thoughts on some of the horses that touched them that you may have never heard of. Larry writes to us on Facebook, and he says, Shadowmar, a huge white horse trained by Everett Schoenborn, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, based at Finger Lakes, shipped into Saratoga numerous consecutive years, and won at very high levels, maybe 45, 50 years ago. Larry, appreciate everybody who has taken time to write in and tell us about those horses that the unsung heroes, the horses that flew under the radar. Nobody knows who they are except for you, maybe. And I appreciate all of those comments that we're receiving. And the reason, by the way, I mentioned this earlier in the show, but if you're just joining us, the inspiration behind this poll question is the fact that today is the anniversary of a horse named Maybe Jack, Georgia bred, winning a match race against a horse named Pro on Ice at Suffolk Downs. That made Maybe Jack the winningest horse of 1997 with 13 victories. It occurred December 14th, 1997. And I'm going to tell you more historical dates in racing history as we move throughout the show. I'll do that in the next segment. But I wanted to pass that one along because Maybe Jack is a horse you probably never heard of. But he did something special in his career. For me, 2 horses. Red Hot Red, who was a claiming horse in the mid-90s in New York. Hard-knocking claimer, too. He didn't always win. He won his fair share. But he didn't always win. But he was a horse that I was drawn to for whatever reason. I loved watching him run. And I would bet on him a lot, and I would win on him a lot. So that probably had something to do with it. And then the other one for me, Mr. Sneak-a-Snack, who is a horse I'm sure many of you, most of you, probably all of you have never heard of, unless you were at Rockingham Park back in the mid-90s. He would run at Rockingham in New Hampshire quite often. And my wife and I would attend the races there, and it seemed like every time we would go, Mr. Sneak-a-Snack was running. Or if we would go to a simulcast facility to bet horses, Mr. Sneak-a-Snack was running at Rockingham that day. He was a South Carolina bred, but both of us, for whatever reason, liked his name, Mr. Sneak-a-Snack. And he became a horse that even to this day, we still talk about. There was another horse, I just thought of this one too. There was another horse in New York years ago named Green Means Go. And again, for whatever reason, just kind of thought he had a catchy name. He would run well when he showed up. If I'm not mistaken, I think he ran most of the time on the turf. But those are the types of horses I'm looking for. So keep those responses coming. I'll try to update all of those responses later in the program. When I come back, I'll take a look at a few more historical dates in racing history and get you ready for hour number 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
My battle buddies and I attended the NHL Stadium Series at Yankee Stadium. We had never been there before, and two of us had never seen a hockey game. Man, we had the time of our lives. It was great therapy. VetTix, we can't thank you enough.
Every empty seat at a concert, a game, motorsports, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We can help. We can give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Find out how by visiting www.vettix.org. That's www.vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Thursday evenings, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, is the Brisnet.com call-in show. It's your chance to call in and let the Horse Racing Radio Nation know what's on your mind. Call us at 888-966-HRRN. That's 888-966-4776. And discuss the topics you choose in the world of thoroughbred racing. The Brisnet.com call-in show. Sirius 162, XM 207, and streaming live at horseracingradio.net. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
You know, one of the things I forgot to mention when talking about the fairgrounds and touch upon a star in that last segment is the fact that Kentucky Derby winner Mystic Dan is set to be paraded down at the fairgrounds today. So that's another cool aspect to Louisiana Champions Day in the Bayou. That's going to be a lot of fun. Time to take a look at a couple historical dates in racing history as they apply to this weekend. I told you about maybe Jack and setting the record for most victories in 1997, that occurring on this day. Well, yesterday, December 13th, 1986, was the anniversary of jockey Kent DeSormo having his first career stakes win, the first of many for the Hall of Famer. That came in the Maryland City Handicap at Laurel. Tomorrow, December 15th, 1973, the day that Hall of Famer Sandy Hawley became the first jockey in history to win 500 races in a single year when he rode Charlie Jr. to victory in the third race at Laurel Park. And those are dates in racing history as they apply to this particular weekend. We'll take a look at more of those dates next week here on the Equine Forum. It's always fun to look back on some of the really iconic moments in the sport of thoroughbred racing. Response to the poll question via email. Trish in Colorado writes in and says, Collusionist is now an 8-year-old Colorado bred. He's the winningest Colorado bred of all time. He won the Aspen Stakes 5 times, including this year at Bally's Arapahoe Park in Denver. She wants to know, has any other horse done such a thing? Man, not that I can recall in Colorado. That's special. Collusionist, a horse that maybe many of you haven't heard of, but special. Special for Trish in Colorado. We appreciate that, Trish. Keep the responses coming, and again, I'll try to update them as we move throughout the show. Some of the horses that have touched your heart that most people have never even heard of. I think this is such a fascinating conversation, and again, Dale and Tim going to share their thoughts on this coming up at 10:30 Eastern. I'm also going to ask them, by the way, is Flavien Prat the undisputed best jockey in the sport right now? I don't think that's as cut and dry as you might think with guys like Irad Ortiz kicking around out there. But is he the best? He's having a record-setting year. Maybe he sets a record later today, too. He very well could. All right, Hour 2 in the books. Hour 3 coming up next. If your local station is leaving us at this time, continue listening to the third hour of the show nationwide on Sirius 162, XM 207, in the Louisville, Kentucky market on ESPN 680, and streaming on our HRRN website, horseracingradio.net. Hour 3, the Equine Forum, is next, right after I pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Improbable to the outside of Mucho Gusto, who's trying to battle back to the inside. And the two Baffert trainees have pulled away from the others. But it's Improbable doing the best work. Improbable well on his way to remain undefeated. And now a Grade 1 winner. Fantastic in the futurity.
Moira has taken the lead from Full Count Felicia Didia, trying to close the gap for My Goddess Beautiful Love. And then comes Cinderella's Dream. They're coming to the finish. And it is Moira. Oh, Canada.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Mucho Macho Man has put out now on the outside. Declaration of war will take charge. Mucho Macho Man just keeps on finding on the lead. Will take charge. A late run. Oh, it's close. Mucho Macho Man. The more they asked, the more he gave.
Bernardini strides away from the field at the 8 pole. In front by 4. Sweet Northern Saint, no real response for him. Brother Derek and Hemingway's key. It is going to be Bernardini to win this Preakness. A bittersweet Preakness it was.
Now here's Mike Penna.
2 hours down, 1 to go. One more hour here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires, and it begins right now. Welcome back to the program. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on this Saturday morning. And looking ahead to the third hour of the show, loaded with more special content as it is every week. We're going to begin with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin Kilroy will have 3 races for you to keep an eye on later today. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History, coming up at 10:20, and at 10:30, Dale and Tim with I Ask, They Answer, tackling some of the hottest topics in the sport today, including jockey Flavien Prat. Is he the undisputed best jockey in the country right now? Or are there others that they feel might be better despite Flavien's record season? We'll talk about that coming up at 10:30. First 2 hours of the program were loaded with special content, including my conversation with jockey Javier Castellano. If you missed any portion of the show so far, head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. Listen to the podcast whenever you get some time. You can do that, too, on every podcast platform. And we begin Hour 3, as we do every week, with the TwinSpires Triple Play. As I mentioned, Kevin Kilroy is here. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning. I mean, you're bringing up all sorts of great topics. Pratt, yeah, he's the best, right? Pratt's the best. But what about Brian Hernandez Jr. for the Eclipse Award? What I mean, this is once in a lifetime, once in a generation type of year to get the Derby, the Oaks, the Breeders' Cup, the Clark, all that sort of stuff. So I'm voting for BJ to get that Eclipse this year.
Yeah, that would be really cool. We talked about that on I Ask They Answer last weekend on the trainer side of things. And Ken McPeak, is he the Eclipse Award winning trainer of 2024? It's you have to look at Chad Brown and say he's had a fantastic year too. But you look at what Kenny's done and potentially training what could be the horse of the year in a filly, and you have to think that he's got some, a dog in that fight too.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, he's doing such a good job. Him and Greg Geyer, they're just getting those horses ready to roll, and I would put him up there as well. I mean, when you just have a sort of historic year, I think they deserve all the accolades. It's just such a rare thing, and all the wins that you see from other trainers, other jocks, they're special for sure. But you just can't beat this. This is a memorable thing.
Yeah, very special year for those individuals, and let's hope it continues into 2025. The 3 races you have chosen on the Triple Play for today are all coming from the fairgrounds: race 6, race 9, and race number 10. So let's dive into them and get your thoughts on these 3 races. Race 6 is the Louisiana Champions Day Juvenile Stakes, 6 furlongs on the main track. It is for the 2-year-old colts and geldings. How'd you see that one?
Yeah, Louisiana Champions Day. This is it's a special day. It's one of those deals when you're at the track and all the connections, all the owners, everybody's there. You just realize what a community, what a heritage it is in Louisiana, the horse racing, and such a special deal to be a part of. So we've got 7 of the stakes on the card there, and it starts off that pick 5. Some good 2-year-olds. I mean, we've got big-time runners in really strong barns. These lawbreds are showing up everywhere. Even Micropoli has a lawbred. Did you know that? He ran yesterday.
Really?
Acknowledge. Yeah, Micropoli's got one with Joe Sharp, so a good one at that. It's the new flex. I'm going to go against the favorite in here. I think Smokin' Wicked ran a huge race last time at Churchill, getting it done there November 2nd. We've had a good amount of time, but I just feel that we move forward in such a way that it's going to be hard to sustain that. And we've got some runners who are just tipping forward and a little bit more lightly raced. And there's just going to be way too much money on Smokin' Wicked. So my top pick in here is Louisiana Jess. I do want to use Hey Jude and Voila Magic as well. But Louisiana Jess, they exit all that same race that Hey Jude won. And just tended the 3 Calhoun's runner, the Vacoma colt, tended to the pace. It was a very hot pace. So I think we just have a stronger performance if you factor in the pace than that number shows in terms of speed figures that you're looking at. Second start, haven't raced since August 3rd. Brian Hernandez Jr. back aboard. Doesn't need to be fully sent like that. Can come from off of it, but also draws nicely if they want to get out and get going. So 6-1 morning line. Would love to get 4-1 on there. But Hey Jude, the 2, Maggie Moss, Tom Amos, Aurelius Maximus colt, had all sorts of trouble last time. Out of the gates in the turn, and then coming home, chose the narrowest lane to split foes up at the end, and was able to do it. So very game. Wouldn't want to lose to that one. Very talented, though. But these 2-year-olds, it's a good crop of lawbreds, that's for sure.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be when you look at these youngsters. And, you talk about Hey Jude and you talk about Louisiana Jess, and they come out of the same race as Voila Magic, who was in this same race again. So you got those 3 in a 3-way rematch. And then, you talk about Dallas Stewart's youngster, Smokin' Wicked. It does seem as if the quality is really high this year.
Yeah, Dallas is never afraid to take a swing, Baleen Farms specifically when they own them, against open company, against graded stakes companies. So Smokin' Wicked's got 2 points on the road to the Derby. We'll see what path he takes going forward, but they're very good. And then Voila Magic, it's a half to touch upon a star who races earlier in the card in race 3 in the Classic. One of the best older dirt route runners out there, owned by Jake Delhomme. They choose to keep him in Louisiana for the most part, but every time he's faced graded stakes company, he's finished second. So he's a big runner. This is a half to that. Voila Magic, definitely dangerous. Won at Keeneland on debut. A lot to like about these lawbreds. So hopefully we're getting the love and the attention for the program down here because they're doing good work in the breeding.
All right, number 3, Louisiana Jess at odds of 6-1 on the morning line under Brian Hernandez Jr., the top pick in race number 6 for Kevin Kilroy to kick off this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin, let's move on to the second leg you've selected. It is race number 9. That is the Louisiana Champions Day Ladies Turf Stakes, mile and a 16th on the turf course. Who wins this one?
Yeah, this is a good race. There's a lot of speed, a lot of pace signed on. Highly Wicked on the rail should be very forward. We've also got Cheapskate Diva. They're both just sort of like all out, trying to clear the field sort of runners. There's 2 runners that I'm interested in here. One's going to be a price, the other one is not. But I think Boom and Bell is just one that you might want to single. Mike Makers gets Stormy Philly, 3-year-old who just took a move forward on Thoroughgraph. Looking at Boom & Bell's numbers, we took that nice forward move that suggests that there's another move coming. We ran ran an 8 last time, a 10 before Horseshoe Indianapolis, and that was against, you got to remember that day at Churchill we had Ghostly Gal, that Catalano filly, get it done over Dana's Beauty, odds-on favorite from Joe Sharp. Quality runners, stakes level competition. That was a Lawbred facing Open Company. Second start, I think this probably was the race that they had circled coming back to the home state. Short price, though. But you've got Eye of the Pharaoh in there, that Steve Asmussen, Jose Ortiz, that one's going to take money. A few others in here that will take some attention. If you wanted to get away, Clearly a Test. Shane Wilson's Clearly Now filly, trying turf for the first time. Clearly Now has been 20% on terms of, not a ton of numbers yet from Clearly Now, but for the first time moving to the turf, 20%. And the Dam testing 1-2 with Star Guitar mare. That's got the Scat Daddy on the mare side. So I think the turf should work for that one, and definitely a 3-year-old. She's big. She almost got Free Like a Girl last time. She's got more to show us, got a huge late kick, should be able to trip out from the rail. But Boom & Bell is just hard to deny that the maker's got the nuts in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she looks like she could be a handful. And the 3-year-old daughter of Get Stormy, 3 for 10 lifetime, but she rarely runs a bad race. She's been on the board in 6 of those 10 lifetime starts. We'll see if she can continue her winning ways or get back to her winning ways coming up in that 9th race on Saturday afternoon. All right, race number 10, of course, follows the 9th race. That makes sense, right? We'll go to the Louisiana Champions Day Sprint Stakes, 6 furlongs on the main track. How'd you see that one?
Yeah, these sprints, or these stakes level sprinters in Louisiana, are always entertaining. You just never know how it's going to unfold, who's going to really show up. For the most part, the pace tends to be very, very hot, and some of them just don't quit. They never wave the white flag. The prep for this was won by Go Sugar and that Andrew Ney, and the other speed in that race just didn't show up. And now we got him back in here, and Mike J. He's on the far outside. He didn't get out of the gate clean and didn't go with them. So we had Go Sugar able to get that loose lead and get it done. I think he's got company today. I think they'll give him some pressure, and I think El De Niro gets him this time. He was just a head shy there in the Andrew Ney last time. I think he's he's one of these guys in the morning, just seeing him on the track. He's just so full of energy. He's just tossing his head around and being a little bit being cocky out there, like you want to see these runners sort of act like they're the big deal in town. And he's moving forward. Just took a step forward on Thoroughgraph. I think he's got more to show us. He's got a couple wins at this track, and I think he'll offer a little more value than a couple of the other options. So El De Niro on top in here. If you want to get away from that one, get into the double digits, not on Herb. If you're a Pelicans fan, then Herb Jones, not on Herb. Could have more to show us and could get a great setup. Autumn Strongman is a little bit interesting, clear as a bell as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Jackhammer, Calhoun, and Jose Ortiz teaming up for this one. If he's ran a 1, on Thoroughgraph. If he runs back to that figure off the bench, then he should be the best. Jose Ortiz is winning at 42%, 23 wins so far. He's just cleaning up and getting the best mount in just about every race that he gets called in. So if he really is ready to roll at the sprint distance, then Jackhammer going to be very dangerous, but going to be odds on in this race. So hard to love that.
All right, well, there you have it. The 3 races for Kevin Kilroy on this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. We begin with race 6 at the Fairgrounds. He takes number 3, Louisiana Jess, at odds of 6-1. Race number 9, he'll go with number 10, Boom & Bell, at 5-2. And in race 10, the race we just discussed, he'll take number 3, El Dinero, at odds of 9-2. Kevin, any special promotions at TwinSpires? I know there's always tournaments going on, all that type of stuff. What's happening this weekend at TwinSpires?
Yeah, you've got opportunities to win in the tournaments. There's also the qualifiers for our Gun Runner Day, which is December 21st. We're having a qualifier for the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. So take advantage of those. And then we've also got triple the points. If you're betting at Fairgrounds or at Turfway Park, just those Churchill Downs properties, and you're getting triple the points if you opt in up at TwinSpires. So get involved with that. No harm in opting in and sort of seeing where your money goes throughout the day. But I'm going to be taking advantage of it myself. And we also got Mystic Dan. He's going to be coming over. He's with us on the backside, back home here at Fairgrounds where he trained ahead of his Derby win last year. He's going to walk over with the runners for race 3, with the Classic, with Touch Upon a Star and those guys, and parade in the paddock for all the fans. So Mystic Dan's going to be out with us today. I'm very excited to see him, and cheers to Kenny McPeak for sharing him with us.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Kevin Kilroy with the TwinSpires Triple Play. All kinds of action taking place in the Bayou this weekend. Kevin, appreciate the visit, my friend. As always, we'll encourage our listeners to head over to TwinSpires to play the 3 races you have just discussed, and every race they're going to play this weekend. Do it with TwinSpires. Appreciate it, brother. I probably won't talk to you before Christmas and the holidays, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you and Chief Steelers. Let's talk before or after that. See how
Christmas
it goes.
Day.
Christmas Day. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it should be a great one. We'll prove that we're not pretenders, as you told me earlier.
It's easy to be cocky with 3 rings, Sorry about that. Everybody hates the Chiefs now. You can hate me too. I'm Kansas City born.
Man, we got 6, and I'm not cocky. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. See you.
All right, all the best. Kevin Kilroy, the TwinSpires Triple Play. Coming up next, Kurt Becker takes you on his stroll through racing history. A fun story about a horse named Icecapade, sticking with the holiday theme here leading up to Christmas and then into New Year's. Kurt always likes to focus on those types of things. And don't forget, if you miss any of his stories, they're available for you via podcast on our website and on every podcast platform. So do yourself a favor, flip through those. I think you're really going to enjoy Kurt's take and Kurt's stroll through history segments that he brings your way each and every week. Dale and Tim coming up 10:30 Eastern. I ask, they answer. Lots to get to. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
You're listening to HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A 2-time Grade 1 winner at Saratoga with nearly $2.5 million in earnings, and one of the best sons of super sire Gunrunner.
And it is Godite, and he's going to win the 117th running of the hopeful.
Godite is maintaining the lead, and he will defeat Elite Power in the Forgo.
Gunite posted 9 triple-digit buyers, won 9 races, and hit the board in 19 of 21 starts. Precocious, fast, durable, and tough. Call the team at Ashford today to book your mare.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. He was a contender for championship honors, but he never won an Eclipse Award. He was a graded stakes winner, but never at the Grade 1 level. But he left his mark on the sport by siring the winner of the inaugural Breeders' Cup Classic. His name was Icecapade. Foaled on April 4th, 1969 at Locust Hill Farm of Mr. and Mrs. Stuart Janney Jr. in Glendon, Maryland, Icecapade was a gray colt by Nearctic out of Shenanigans by Native Dancer. Of note is the fact he was the older half-brother of 2-time champion filly Ruffian, who remains one of the all-time sentimental favorites among American racing fans. As for Icecapade, he was described as a big gray colt well-built, which possessed both speed and desire. Sent to Frank Whiteley and his son David for training, Icecapade won 3 of 8 starts as a 2-year-old in 1971, including a triumph over BBB, who would win the Preakness Stakes the following year. But Icecapade was destined for success as a sprinter, and he would notch 4 wins in stakes company during his 3-year-old season. 2 in New York, 1 in New Jersey, and 1 in Delaware. And 2 of those efforts would produce stakes records. The first of those wins came on June 24th, 1972, when Icecapade won the Saranac Stakes at Aqueduct with Eddie Maple riding in stakes record time of 1 minute 33 and 3/5 seconds for the 1 mile distance. 6 weeks later, he added the 6 furlong Kelso handicap by 6 lengths as the favorite at Delaware Park, with Bill Hartack the winning jockey. Reunited with Maple in September, Icecapade won the Longport handicap by 12 lengths in the slop at Atlantic City Racecourse. Morning line favorite Eastern Fleet was scratched, with Icecapade assuming the favorite's role by post time and getting 7 furlongs in 1:24 and 1. Mayor Leon Leopardi of the resort city of Longport presented the trophy. In November, Icecapade returned to New York and added a win in the Stuyvesant handicap at Aqueduct, capturing the 22nd running of the race before an election day crowd of 36,000. Ridden by Maple, Icecapade got the mile in 1:34, which was a stakes record. Icecapade had firmly placed himself into the discussion for an Eclipse Award as champion sprinter of 1972. But a filly named Shoe Crute had beaten males on multiple occasions late that season, including a win over Icecapade in the fall highway at Belmont Park, and voters rewarded her with the championship. Icecapade returned in 1973, but he struggled by going 0 for 4 in New York during the spring portion of the campaign. Little did anyone realize he was about to do the best running of his career. Shipping to Monmouth Park for an allowance race on June 20th, and with Walter Blum in the saddle, Icecapade drew clear to win by 10 lengths as the even money favorite and got 6 furlongs in 1 minute 8 seconds flat. It broke a track record which had stood for 16 years, and the Wednesday afternoon crowd of 12,000 included comedian Bob Hope, who was appearing at the nearby Garden State Arts Center that same week. Icecapade had also caught the eye of Mrs. Donald McVarish, who was active in real estate dealings with her husband in central Kentucky. Mrs. McVarish had never owned a thoroughbred, but she was convinced the time was right to get in the game. Initial reports were that Mrs. McVarish had paid $400,000 for Icecapade, but rumors later placed the figure at more than $500,000. Finally, the press decided to go with $450,000 as the purchase price, a figure which equates to $3 million today when adjusted for inflation. One day after being sold, Icecapade became a graded stakes winner for the first time in his career by taking the Grade 3 Nassau County handicap at Aqueduct by nearly 6 lengths before a crowd of 17,000. Blum was in the irons for the stakes record performance as Icecapade got 7 furlongs in 1 minute 20 and 2/5 seconds. Proving it was no fluke, Icecapade would add the Grade 2 William DuPont Jr. handicap at Delaware Park in his next outing. In August, Icecapade, now trained by Steve DeMauro, added the Atlantic City handicap to his resume as Blum was in the irons aboard the even money favorite for his 7th career stakes score. But once again, the Eclipse Award eluded Icecapade, as a talented 3-year-old named Shecky Green would earn the title as Eclipse Champion Sprinter of 1973. Icecapade retired to stud at the end of the year and was originally to be sold to a farm in Ireland, but the purchaser died soon after the deal was completed. A group of American breeders led by John Gaines believed it important to keep Icecapade stateside, and so it was announced in March of 1974 that Icecapade would be remaining in the U.S. and would stand at Gainesway Farm near Lexington. Icecapade justified the faith that the Gaines Syndicate had placed in him, siring 52 stakes winners by the time of his death in November of 1988. Despite being a horse which excelled as a sprinter, Icecapade ironically would become best known as the sire of Wild Again, winner of the inaugural running of the Breeders' Cup Classic at 1.25 miles. He would also leave his mark as the broodmare sire of Horse of the Year, Lady's Secret. So close, yet never a champion on the racetrack, Icecapade found his greatest legacy in his later years through his sons and daughters. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Thanks, Kurt, for that story. If you missed it, go to our website to check out the podcast of every Stroll Through Racing History. And don't forget while you're there to check out our Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton and sign up for our email newsletters to stay up to date on the latest news and guests set to appear on our shows. Dale and Tim coming up next with I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The championship meet is back at Gulfstream Park. Come to Hallandale Beach and experience the best in live racing action Thursday through Sunday, plus an expanded event schedule. Join us trackside at the Carousel Club or head upstairs to 10 Palms Restaurant with an elevated view of the track. Enjoy the world's best horses, trainers, and jockeys as they compete all winter long. For stake schedules, reservations, and more, head to GulfstreamPark.com.
Owning a competitive racehorse gives you a thrill like no other.
And it's Thormistor getting his second win and charging through for Danny Sorensen.
Since 2006, Mojo Racing Partners has customized affordable racehorse ownership groups to help people experience this excitement.
She's for you, home in front.
For as low as $41 a month, you can be part of Mojo's winning connections. Get your Mojo working by visiting MojoRacingPartners.com.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
And they're into the stretch, and Sierra Leone has circled up on the outside to take the lead. Fierceness battles on second. Newgate behind them. Forever Young on the far outside. Sierra Leone. Fierceness digs in. Newgate. Forever Young. Sierra Leone close to home. Sierra Leone does it in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Fierceness was second, Forever Young was third, Newgate fourth, and then came Senor Buscador. Today was the day that he got it done. It was Sierra Leone.
Yeah, it certainly was the day. Larry Colmus had the call. Jockey Flavien Prat guiding Sierra Leone to that huge victory in this year's Breeders' Cup Classic, part of Pratt's record-setting year in 2024. Is he the undisputed best jockey in the sport today? Dale and Tim will share their thoughts. Plus, is Fasig-Tipton's innovative digital sales platform showing all of us the future of equine auctions? And we spent some time remembering horses most people have never heard of. We will never forget. Those topics and much, much more are straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf writer Tim Wilkin, and all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. And all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
All right, guys, we're going to jump right into it here this morning with a couple of listener-submitted questions. The first comes from Shane in North Carolina, who wants to know about Godolphin's undefeated 2-year-old Poster, who made his dirt debut in the Grade 2 Remsen at Aqueduct last weekend. And this was the way things unfolded as they turned for home.
Here comes Poster on the move with Flavien Prat. Is going to make it 4 across the racetrack here. It is Tux in front. Aviator Guy is looking for a way out. Key Waden, meanwhile, is put ahead in front. Poster is launching this big rally, and Poster's got the momentum. Poster's taking the lead. It's Poster who's trying to kick away, and the Remsen is doing just that. Aviator Guy is in the clear. It's Poster who's kicking away, now up by 2. Is going to have to hold off an oncoming rush of a lugging in Aviator Guy, but Aviator Guy is absolutely flying down the center of the racetrack. Poster is almost there. Aviator Guy is lunging. Poster needs a line. Aviator Guy, photo finish. Oh, it's a photo. Poster and Aviator Guy right there at the line. Finishing third was Tux. Was that a record-setting ride for Flavien Prat? We'll find out. It's a photo in the Remsen. Poster or Aviator Guy.
Chris Griffin with the call. We'll talk more about Flavien Prat coming up in our next topic. But, guys, the finish line arriving just in time for Poster, who holds on for that nose victory. Shane wants to know, are you buying or selling Poster as a serious Kentucky Derby contender in 2025?
Well, Shane, as always, comes up with some good questions. He works harder than Santa Claus this time of year. Keep them coming, Shane. In the past, I've never really wanted to talk about horses in the Kentucky Derby, and here we are December 14th. And that's not the time of year I want to do it, but since my fearless leader asked me to do it, I'm gonna buy this one. Because Poster is also he's done things. He's had 3 starts in his career. He's won them all. I'm never going to go against a horse that's done nothing wrong in his first 3 starts. Yeah, he was desperately waiting for the wire to show up for him, and Chad Brown's horse lugged in for the 2nd straight year in this race, shades of Sierra Leone. But Owen Hardy, he had a horse last week and won the Kentucky Jockey Club first resort. I didn't buy him, but I'm buying this one.
I have to agree. It's buying the thing. He got the right connections, right pedigree, right everything. Ran a good race. I like the Remsen. That's one of my favorite 2-year-old races of the year. It's lost its luster with all the Breeders' Cup stuff, but it was a good old race and won it a couple of times. And it's a race you got to watch the winner from.
Would you rather have the winner or the horse that was gaining on him at the end? Which one would you rather have right now looking ahead?
I'd take the winner. Lugging in's, is a problem, but I'll go with the winner.
I'll go with the winner, too, because, his first 2 races were on grass. He's shown some versatility, and who knows how much better he could get. I mean, Owen Hardy's got he looks like he has a barn that might be able to do some damage as we move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Owen, back-to-back greatest stakes wins with juveniles in 2 weekends. So congratulations to all those connections. Tim, I will echo your sentiments and thank Shane for the question and remind our listeners if they have a topic or a question they want the 2 of you to debate, all they have to do is email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, or post the question on our social media pages, and we will work that into the program going forward. How about this one? Poster was ridden by jockey Flavien Prat, who continued his magical year, setting the single-season stakes record and tying the single-year graded stakes record, which was set by Jerry Bailey all the way back in 2003. Prat now ranks 6th this year by overall number of wins, but he is number 1 in earnings. So, Dale Romans, are you buying or selling Flavien Prat as the best jockey in the sport right now?
I'm buying. There's obviously nobody any better. I mean, you're not going to lose much taking Irad or several good guys around the country, but there's nobody doing it better than Flavien right now.
I have to agree with Dale. I mean, Flavien Prat is having a year for the ages. I mean, he doesn't have as many starters as Irad. And even I think Jose or Tyler Gaffalione have more starts, but he's getting on the right horses. Credit to Brad Pegram, to his agent, for getting him on these horses. And when you're winning, everybody wants you to ride them. And I think that Jerry Bailey's graded stakes record is in serious jeopardy today because he's Flavien's riding gaming for Bob Baffert in the Los Alamitos Futurity 2-5, so that record could fall today. I mean, Pratt is on his way to winning the Eclipse Award, and he's going to finally wrestle the way for Irad Ortiz, who's dominated the Eclipse for the last half dozen years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is it when you start talking about Irad Ortiz Jr., Flavien Prat? I mean, it is a very thin margin that would separate those two. What is it that makes jockeys of that caliber just better than other jockeys that are a notch below them?
I'm going to tell you what the biggest thing is. It's confidence, and they can ride with confidence, and they're not getting fired. They're not going to lose their business, and they can just go out there and do what they think is best. If they make a mistake, they make a mistake, and that's a huge part of being a jockey, I think, is the confidence to make the decisions and not ride the way other people think you should or what you should do.
And it helps that Pratt's getting on horses for the big outfit like Chad Brown. I mean, he's riding all of his. It seems like he's riding just about all of his A horses. So, and Chad's having himself a year too. So, and Flavien has been the beneficiary of being the rider on those horses and taking nothing away from his ability because he's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how good Flavien is and how good Irad is. What's the biggest difference between those two riders? Dale, if you're going to give them a leg up, what's the one thing you see in Flavien that's different than Irad and vice versa?
I'd say Flavien's more finesse, and Irad is more aggressive. I mean, he'll take it to him, and he'll do what, he rides Angel Cordero style like his teacher. He'll ride every horse in the race. And from what I see from Flavien, it's just he's got a lot more finesse about him and smooth like Pat Day used to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's Flavien's like Kobe Bryant, and Irad's like a Charles Barkley, a bull in a china shop. Those two different styles, but both very successful.
Yeah, but both no doubt on their ways to Hall of Fame careers, and congratulations to Flavien on all of his success here in 2024. All right, moving on to our next question, which also comes from a listener, and this one comes from Jeff, who emails the show, and he wants to know, in a big stakes race, the winning jockey is paid 10% of the winner's share, but what do the jockeys who don't win end up getting in those races? So I think this is a question that a lot of listeners may have. They don't know how the payoffs work with jockeys, and we've kind of delved into it on some other shows before. But, Dale, you want to take this one? How does it work?
Yeah, I've got this one. It's pretty simple. Easy math, the winner gets 60% of the purse. The second horse gets 20% of the purse. Third horse gets 10%. Fourth horse, 5%. And then they scatter a little bit down. And the winning jockey gets 10% of the 60%. The second and third place get 5% of the 20 and 2%. And then the rest of the jockeys, they just get a little check.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be 1, 2, 3, but 1 is a big difference from 2 in a jockey. For a jockey.
Pretty simple. Jeff, that's a good question. I think a lot of people wonder how that all comes together, and appreciate you sending it in. And, again, keep those questions coming for Dale and Tim. We'll get them worked into the show. We have to move on to some other topics. We have 3 more to get to. And, guys, there are a lot of meat on the bone with these next few topics. On last Saturday's show, I had a really enjoyable and entertaining visit with Gulfstream Park valet Eric Messiah. And that interview is now posted as a podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net. And I would encourage everyone to go back and listen. It's a really fun listen. And I would bet that most racing fans don't have any idea that being a jockey's valet is a job that exists on the racetrack. So I'm going to ask you guys, what are some of the other obscure, behind-the-scenes racetrack jobs that often get overlooked, but without them, our sport could not exist? Timmy?
Boy, there's just it seems like an endless list of jobs that are done on the racetracks that I think people kind of realize it, but they don't realize how important they are. You look at a farrier. I mean, horses need new shoes. Someone's got to put them on and take them off. Someone has to be able to. And man, I've watched that many times, and it's amazing to me that these guys don't get kicked all the time. I know there's been incidents when there have been kicked, but they're such professional, and they just know how to do it. And hats off to what they do. And then you got the starting gate crews, the outriders, who are maybe they're maybe the most unsung heroes on the racetrack. And then as Dale would tell you, you got to have a good groom, you got to have a good hot walker, and you damn well better have some good exercise riders. There's just so many jobs on the racetrack that I think people don't realize how important they are.
Yeah, there's too many to go through, but you got things like the gate crew, the people that get in there and handle those horses in the gate every day. Everybody knows the starter that pushes the button, but every horse has a man in the stall with him, and that's a little fine space that he's trying to protect the jockey and the horse. When they get to acting up in there, anything can happen with those guys. I remember I got offered a job to work on the gate when I was 16 years old at Ellis Park, and my dad wouldn't let me. He said I was too slow. I'd get killed in there. I'd probably still be working there. But Yeah, and then there seems like even entry clerks in the racing office that take the entries every day would call in, and the stakes coordinators that put the stakes together that call around the country to trainers like me that need a reminder that nominations are due or that it's time to enter for something. And there's just an ongoing list. The guys that walk the turf course after every turf race and replace the divots so the horses have a safe surface to run on. You could go on and on and on about it. It's a very labor-intensive business and a lot of unsung heroes. The ambulance drivers that follow the jockeys around. That's an important job.
Mm-hmm.
The only job in the world you go to, the ambulance follows you everywhere you go.
One of the jobs that always strikes me as being quite remarkable, and I've had the privilege to sit in the jocks room and watch them do it, is the clerk of scales. What they do, getting the jockeys organized and ready, and then getting down to the racetrack and helping them weigh in. All of the different things that they do, that's one heck of a job. That's very difficult.
It is a difficult job, and he's like the principal in there. If they come in a little bit heavy, he'll yell at them, go get in the box. You got to lose 2 pounds. They got to go sweat it out. And he's the boss in there. He's like the daddy of the room. But I didn't know you had an interview with Messiah. That'd be good. Messiah's a great character of the game.
Yep. Yeah, he's fantastic, and he's also a wonderful musician too. He plays steel pan music. Played at the Super Bowl, believe it or not, in Jacksonville. And I asked him, I said, "Okay, wait a minute. You mean you played outside the stadium, around the stadium?" He said, "No. We actually played at the Super Bowl," and it's a fantastic story that he told on during the interview. So again, I'd encourage everybody to go back and listen. But that's another job, the valet job, that a lot of people, Timmy, they don't even know that exists.
No, they don't. I mean, and they're, I know a bunch of them in New York, and that's, and it's not like they're just handing their boots. They're doing a lot of stuff. They walk out with the equipment to the paddock and the saddle, and I've seen guys that they've gotten kicked before, and it's not just like they're like a servant to the jockeys. They do a lot of work. They go back and forth to the winner's circle after every race, and they do things that people just don't understand and realize what they do. But I'll tell you one thing: every jockey in the room knows how important a valet is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the valets, when Tammy started riding, she weighed 80 pounds, and all the valets would complain when they get her to carry her saddle. Her saddle weighed 30 or 40 pounds, and they'd have to walk back and forth with her, carrying that heavy-ass saddle.
I love it. How closely does the trainer work with the valet? Do you have any interaction, Dale?
No, only when they're saddling the horse or unsaddling. That's really the only thing we do. But, I mean, you end up being friends with them all. I mean, saddle horses with guys for 40 years. And, in other countries, they don't have valets, and you have to have your assistant do the odds offside of the horse. And it's hard to find somebody that knows how to do that in this country. And I didn't know that first time I went to Dubai with Roses in May. And I didn't have anybody to do it. And so I ended up, Johnny showed up, and he brought his valet with him. And it worked because he came down and saddled the horse. I said, we always have that little thing together, me and you. We saddled the Dubai World Cup winner. But then one year, Graham Motion was my valet for me in Dubai. We happened to both be there. And I think it took us 3 tries because he didn't know how to work the other side either.
There's a valet in New York named Harry Rice who's been there forever.
The best.
He's always threatening to retire, and I just hope that day never comes because he's one of the true characters and one of the really good people in the New York room, and I'm looking forward to seeing him there this year. So, Harry, if you're listening, don't retire.
Yep, good people, and that is an unsung hero job for sure. Go back and listen to that interview with Eric Messiah. You'll really enjoy it. All right, 2 more topics to get to, including this one where we say hello to our friend Nick Zito, and Dale and Tim get to tell me if the following statement is indeed right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Okay, so this one involves Fasig-Tipton and their December digital sale, which closed on Wednesday, with 401 horses sold for a record $10,031,300. The gross, guys, is believed to be a world record for a thoroughbred auction conducted exclusively online, according to Fasig-Tipton, and more than 1,200 bidders were registered to bid. Fasig-Tipton's platform has now grossed more than $45.5 million in 2024, with 14 with 1,417 horses sold from 1,789 that were offered, and that's a massive 79% clearance rate for those digital sales. Much like the COVID pandemic taught us that we could do business differently, I say the Fasig-Tipton digital sales platform is showing us what equine auctions are going to look like in the future. Am I right or wrong?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Dale, what do you think?
I think you're wrong. I think it's an addition to what we have. I think it's better for selling horses that have already raced or that are older. But as far as yearlings and weanlings go, you always need that one-on-one inspection time, in my opinion. So I think it's an addition, but not going to take over.
Timmy?
I agree with Dale on that as far as the yearlings go. I mean, obviously, I've never bought a horse and probably never will, unless Dale gets me inclined to give him some money to do it. But I would think that if you're going to buy a yearling, a young horse, you want to be able to inspect the horse and see it. And I've been to sales at Fasig-Tipton up in Saratoga, and it's fascinating to me to watch the people that are involved, the owners and the trainers going out and inspecting these horses, and they see things when they see them up close and personal, which probably makes a difference whether they're going to buy the horse or not. So I don't think you're going to get to see that if you're doing it online. So I think the yearling sales are always going to be the same, where there's the inspection, people are on the ground watching the horses and inspecting them.
Yeah, Dale, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you still able? I thought you were still able to go inspect the horses that are going to be offered in a digital sale. Is that true?
No, not that they have walking videos and standing videos and stuff, but they're not all assembled in one spot. Now, you can bid on a horse online and even a live auction. They've got that set up for several years. These horses you're buying off of video, vet reports, and how they walk on the video, and the form that they have, the racing form.
Have you bid on any horses in a digital sale?
What, have I bid on any?
Yeah.
No, I don't even know how to do it. I've never sent an email. I don't know how to do it.
Hey, that's true. That is very true, ladies and gentlemen.
You know that, right?
Yep. All right. Well,
the game is passing me by. I mean, that's one more step of it.
Congratulations to the team at Fasig for introducing these sales and what they have done this year and seeing them grow. Congrats on all their success, and we'll see. Is it in addition to, or will this eventually be the future? Dale and Tim feel like this is something that is not solely going to be the way we buy horses in the future, and that is right or wrong for this Saturday morning. We'll bring back Nick Zito again next Saturday morning here on I Ask, They Answer. One final topic, and in this one, guys, we get to say happy anniversary to Georgia-bred Maybe Jack, who on this day in 1997 won a match race against Pro on Ice at Suffolk Downs, making him the winningest horse of that year with 13 victories. Maybe Jack concluded his racing career January 22nd, 2005, when he finished fourth as the 3-1 favorite in a claiming race at Gulfstream Park. Upon his retirement, Maybe Jack had won 35 of, get this, 122 races with earnings of more than $534,000. So in honor of Maybe Jack's accomplishments, I thought it would be fun here this morning for us to spend a little time sharing some of our favorite memories of horses most people have likely never heard of, and we probably have never even talked about on this show. Our equine unsung heroes, if you will, that have touched us for one reason or another. With Maybe Jack being Georgia-bred, we'll talk about the college football playoffs there too. But Timmy, how about for you? Are there a couple of horses that have touched you for whatever reason, and maybe people have never even heard of them?
I don't know. This one horse that I never saw race live, but I wrote stories about him. A horse named Rapid Redux, who won. We might have even talked about him on the show in years past, but he won 22 races in a row on the Laurel Penn National Charlestown circuit. He set American record for 22 straight wins. He won 19 in a row in 2011. And his trainer, David Wells, was always, not to be confused with a baseball player, was always asked about wanting to try better competition. He just ran claiming starting allowance races. And he only earned like $360,000 in his career, but they never wanted to go out and try anything better because they liked what he was doing on the circuit he was doing, and he became kind of a little bit of a folk hero down there in Laurel. And just dealing with him, just peripherally talking to him a few times, it was just a cool story, and I really enjoyed his career.
Yeah, I can talk about a few personally, but when I was a kid, I used to fall in love with them more than I do today. Probably I had a lot more one-on-one interaction as a groom, out walking from my father. But there was this one horse. I'd saved enough money up when I was 15 to claim a horse for $3,500, Pat Rooney. And he was a running son of a gun. He would always run second, third, win every once in a while. And I ended up claiming him 3 different times. Every time they'd claim him from me, I'd wait long enough and claim him back. I had him 3 different times. And he was as much my pet as he was my investment. I loved that horse. And I remember one day my dad came into the barn. I was grooming. He walked around the corner over at my section, and our Pat Rooney had 4 white bandages on, 2 knee bandages on each one, and the rest of his horses were standing there with no bandages on waiting to eat, and I was still working on our Pat Rooney. And he threatened to bar him from the barn. And there was an old horse, Ace Rula, that my dad talked about him a few times before. He was 11 years old, and would run like 150 times like you were talking about. And my dad and Bill Mott, they swapped him back and forth 3 or 4 times. They kept claiming him back and forth. Me and Bill still talk about Ace Rula. What a fun horse he was to be around. And here recently, there's a horse out there, Bango. It's trained by my lifelong friend, Greg Foley, that just became the winningest horse in the history of Churchill Downs, winning 13 races at Churchill Downs. I mean, he's become a Louisville legend right there at Churchill Downs. So there's a lot of those horses. That could be a whole show, too.
And don't forget Pepper's Pride, the New Mexico horse, won 19 straight. And he was all the rage out in New Mexico. No one probably outside of New Mexico heard of him, but he did a lot of good things. He was $1 million horse, but earner. But he didn't obviously run in any big races. But he carved his own little niche in what he was able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I had 2 that stood out to me as I was putting this question together for you guys. There was a horse that ran in New York at Aqueduct mostly, but he ran at various tracks up there. Red Hot Red was his name, and he ran in the mid-'90s, early to mid-'90s, and he was a hard-knocking claiming horse. I went back and looked it up, started 76 times. He won 14 of them, 15 seconds, 14 thirds. He was always around, and I remember it was April 14th, 1994. I was at Rockingham in New Hampshire watching the simulcast races, and he was running that day. And that was his final career start because he was pulled up, and it didn't look good. And, of course, it wasn't good. But I remember sitting there with tears in my eyes after he was pulled up, knowing that it probably wasn't going to be a good result. But that was the final start for Red Hot Red. And then Mr. Sneak-a-Snack was another one. Speaking of Rockingham, he would run up there in Rockingham. He was a South Carolina bred, and my wife and I just would go to the races, and we liked the name, Mr. Sneak-a-Snack. So he's another one that I've never forgotten, stands out to me, and you probably never heard of him. He won 5 races from 65 starts, but he was a pretty cool, hard-knocking claiming horse, too.
You did a good job
topic.
With the name.
That's a fun topic.
Yeah. I mean, so many. By the way, if our listeners, we've been asking throughout the morning to let us know some of their horses that stand out to them for whatever reason. Keep those coming at HRN on X, and you can do that too on Facebook, Horse Racing Radio Network, and email the show, and keep those responses coming as we move throughout the program here this morning. All right, guys, that's that time of the show where we wrap things up with your final point of the week. Tim Wilkin, why don't you kick it off for us, my friend?
I know Dale Romans is going to give me guff for this, but the Los Alpha Futurity being run today, which is, we already kind of touched on it. It's Bob Baffert. Looks like he's going to be picking up some more points on the road to the Triple Crown. Remember, he's back in the Triple Crown game. He's got Gaming, as we mentioned, the 2-5 favorite in Getaway Car, who was 4th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Gaming was 2nd. He's going to have 2 big shots in this race, even though maybe there's a horse named Journalism who I should bet. But I just think Baffert's just going to be on the Triple Crown Trail with a vengeance as we move forward.
How much does he pay you to be press secretary?
Not enough.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. Whatever it is, not enough. You do a damn good job. I'm just going to say I'm here in Washington, D.C., getting ready to go over to the Army-Navy game.
Nice.
Never been. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm going with two of the most prominent owners in the game, Terry Finley and Dennis Allball. And my goal is for Army to win and to lead with 6 more horses.
Dale, I had the chance to do that a few years back. I went to Terry's tailgate with all of his classmates there. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a good time today.
Yep. Say hi to everybody for me. Dale, we never even talked about the college football playoffs. Who's your favorite to win the national title?
Tim must have hung up. He got out of there pretty quick.
Oh, I'm here.
Well, who's your favorite?
Yes, you, but I'll tell you, I'm going to go out and take a crazy pick. I think Boise State's going to last a pretty long time in this thing, and they could very well win it.
I'm hanging up on that. See you all next week.
All right, guys, appreciate it. We're going to do it all over again next Saturday morning. Have a wonderful weekend. If you have a question for Dale and Tim and you want us to work it into the show, email me, mike@horseracingradio.net. We will get it into the show over the next couple of weeks, or you can post it on our social media pages. I Ask, They Answer is presented every week by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program in the College of Business. I'm back with more. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
The National HBPA has a long-standing mission through member benefits of supporting and promoting programs, along with entities that provide general benevolence and other beneficial programs for our affiliates and members. The National HBPA proudly provides a national program in place to protect your assets in case of an injury or damage to property arising from your racing operation, with our partner Kevin Lavin at Sterling Thompson Equine. Each member of the National HBPA and its affiliates are eligible to be covered for liability claims arising from injuries to non-employee participants and contractual liability, and premises and operations liability coverage for all equine operations, including breeding, boarding, training, and racing. For more information, contact Logan with Sterling Thompson Equine at 502-585-3277 or Eric Hamelback with the National HBPA at 859-259-0451.
Hi there, it's Scott from Pentatonics. So from the beginning of our journey in music, the foundation has been music education. It's so incredibly important that we continue to show kids the importance of music in our schools, in our homes, and even in the car. Music is such a powerful expression of emotion and individuality, and we are responsible for keeping the love for music alive. This message is courtesy of the United States Air Force.
I'm William Shatner. I've been around a long time, but I'm truly humbled when I see the real battles our brave, paralyzed veterans have faced defending our freedom. And when they come home.
I had just come home from serving over in Germany. Next thing I know, it was 3 weeks later. I was paralyzed.
While parachuting with Michael Toon, my parachute didn't open. I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed for the rest of my life.
I was on a routine patrol, and we were in the desert of Kuwait, and the vehicle flipped and landed on top of me, which left me paralyzed from the waist down.
Okay, folks, this is heroism. That's why I'm proud to support Paralyzed Veterans of America, because they've kept their promise to never leave a fallen soldier behind. A roof over their heads, accessible homes, cars, jobs, benefits.
PVA has brought me back to life.
Show them their sacrifice hasn't been in vain. Go to PVA.org to learn how you can make a difference.
Want to get the latest HRRN content directly on your computer or mobile device? Then subscribe to our podcasts using the Podbean app or Apple Podcasts. Just go to hrrn.podbean.com on your computer and click follow, or download the Podbean app and search HRRN. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and listen to our latest episodes anytime. Don't miss a thing. Subscribe to our podcasts today. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Well, if you're looking for the perfect holiday gift for the horse lover on your list, look no further than Blood Horse Magazine. It is the gift that keeps on giving all year long. And right now, when you subscribe to the Thoroughbred Industry's premier monthly magazine, you'll receive a 2025 Blood Horse calendar, which is a $24.95 value, absolutely free. All you have to do is go to bloodhorse.com/winter special or buy a beautiful Blood Horse calendar. You can go to shop.bloodhorse.com to do that. It's really cool stuff, and our thanks to Blood Horse for all of their support over the years, and we certainly enjoy helping them as well. That last topic with Dale and Tim, I really enjoyed that, remembering maybe Jack on this anniversary of his accomplishments, becoming the winningest horse of 1997, and then talking about the horses that have touched us for whatever reason over the years that people have probably never heard of. I told you the Red Hot Red story and Mr. Sneak-a-Snack, and there have certainly been others that fall into that category, and I appreciate all of you who have taken time to let us know your thoughts on that topic on social media here this morning and by emailing the show. We really do appreciate it and appreciate you being with us here this morning as well. My thanks to all of our guests who have made this show possible, including Hall of Fame jockey Javier Castellano for that fun conversation in the second hour of the program, Kevin Kilroy with the TwinSpires Triple Play, Kurt Becker for his Stroll Through Racing History, Dale and Tim in the previous segment, I Ask, They Answer. If you missed any portion of the show, you know what to do. Head back to the website, check out the podcast, and do that too on every podcast platform. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening. Bring on the Eagles. Go Steelers.